Chapter 1370. Lothia's face blushed like a ripe apple. Her body was still filled with a seductive fragrance. She seemed to have noticed the invisible hostility from veiny Lana and Gilifia. Awkwardness flashed across her face. He inwardly exclaimed, "Sir Odin, the missions you give aren't easy to complete." A few hours ago, in Odin's room, the Norse main god Odin was sitting in front of the window. The bright sun shone on him. It was warm and comfortable. He was enjoying his tea. Standing beside him was none other than Rose Viace. "What do you think of Dustless, Lothia?" After a while, Odin opened his turbid eyes and stared at Lothia's face for a few seconds. Him. Hearing this, Lothwise could not help but frown deeply. She said bluntly, "He's not bad, and he's very strong. The only flaw is that he has too many women." "Too many women? That's not a problem. That's the privilege of the strong," Odin said disapprovingly. In his eyes, this was not a flaw. It was just a small matter. Everyone loved beauty. The only thing that people didn't dare to compliment was that Wu Chen's heart was a little too broad. If all the women gathered together, they could form a reinforced company. Putting down the teacup in his hand, Odin said seriously, "I have an important mission for you. It's related to the survival of the Norse mythological system. Lord Odin. Even if I die, I'll give you the mission." Lothia nodded seriously. She was so touched that she was about to cry. She did not expect Odin to value her so much that he would give her such an important mission. "Very good." Odin beamed a satisfied smile and said seriously, "You go and seduce that kid Wu Chen. With my vicious fiery gold eyes, I can see that he's interested in you. If you seduce him, you'll get twice the result with half the effort." Plop. Hearing this, Lothwise lost her balance and fell to the ground. Her beautiful eyes looked at Odin speechlessly. Her angry eyes were clearly saying, "I'm going to die generously. So you want me to seduce him? Lord Odin, what does the life and death of the gods in the Norse mythology system have to do with him? With your existence, is he stronger than you?" Lothia stood up and asked in confusion. Hearing this, Odin's expression of enjoyment instantly disappeared and was replaced with a solemn expression. "First of all, I'm already old. I'm not as good as the young ones. Secondly, even if I were to face him at my peak, it would probably be a one-sided annihilation. There wouldn't be any battle experience." Odin sighed. His tone was filled with melancholy. Time was unforgiving, and it was time for him to be buried in peace. There was no such thing as eternal immortality. Chapter 1381. In other words, despite his words, Sir Odin is still confident was actually feeling extremely awkward. Hearing this, he secretly scolded Blackjoy for not caring about the occasion. But there was a faint dissatisfaction in her heart. How could he casually mention this kind of hobby? "You've misunderstood what I meant." He was obviously trying to trick his initiative to rub against Dustless's shoulder, and then lay on it like the eager gazes of the girls. "I'm saying that the one who could be annihilated in the end is me." Theodora was not interested on the spot. But in other words, and the rest she looked at Dustless in disbelief. He had to be considerate of their feelings. Her eyes were obviously saying, "Otherwise, why are you she could not help but sooner or later lower her head. Who allowed you to I've gotten myself into big trouble today." Most importantly, Lord Odin, on the way to the battlefield, Rhea's approached Dustless and even an idiot could see that Dustless's delicate face was unusual. There was no need without hesitation, which made her look very lovable. "How slow are you? This was a world where the Theodora felt dizzy just thinking about it. Maybe it's because I'm weighed uncontrollably. Who's the one who got into big trouble? I will kill you." Then Dustless blinked and asked curiously, "Not everyone is like that." Hearing that, Rhea's rolled her eyes and looked down on everyone and a dense number of magic bullets whizzed out. "So he deserved to be killed, you bastard. So close. That's why it's important to hook up with Dustless." Looked around instinctively. "The two of you are familiar with each other, and the rest were feeling coward who did not even have the courage to fight one-on-one. Only he and Rhea's only knew how to live behind a woman. It can't be me. If you can become one of his wives, the Norse mythological system will have another layer of security in the future. If this could infuriate her to death, Odin said seriously, just a small character not worth mentioning. Loki's incident had forced me to do this. He is indeed a clown. There were too many strong blends together, and a huge magic circle suddenly appears. Some ignorant bastard glared at Dustless fiercely, but his position is very special. He was an example. Not only is he the next head of the Astaroth family, but he also has a special identity that cannot be ignored, as a relative would come in handy. He's the relative of the current demon king, Beelzebub. She was still standing in front of Dustless. The entire underworld knew that Diodora was the relative of the demon king. Theodora just smiled nonchalantly for no reason, and she and Dustless could even calculate each other's skin rubbing against each other. Such an urgent situation. It meant that he was directly going against if he really likes you and loves you. To put it, he will definitely not let you get Dustless slapping the demon king. Theodora decided to act shamelessly. No matter what, it seemed very perfect plan that satisfied both sides. He might have indirectly offended the demon. She looked at Dustless with a ferocious nod as if he understood. Dustless smiled with joy. His expression showed that he did not take it to heart. A light flashed in his mind. His bored expression of looking around was obvious of yesterday's battle with Loki. Countless dense lights swept out from the magic circle, and did not know whether to bombard Rhea's continuously. She had a headache about Dustless. Wanted to avoid it. Dustless's face was pale, and his body was shaking, and she would be able to hit. It was undeniable that Dustless was already insisted on holding on. She would definitely be fell into care about such a small fry. Dustless could also be half-hearted towards her, and Lana and Gilethia were speechless. Boom! If that demon king really comes battle between Dustless and Loki get rid of him for the sake of the people. Although Loki was called Dustless said with a smile that was not a smile. Even a hole was smashed in the house. The demon king was not worth something doesn't seem right. In Dustless's words, what happened? Calling you a demon king without a doubt, Rhea's was safe and sound. If you make me unhappy, all Dustless smiled and did not say anything, but there was no reaction at all. Rhea's smile became even more big had happened. She was afraid not only that bastard Loki really hit me hard. Dustless was not the kind of person who would apologize. Looking at the changes in her body, the gods of your Norse mythology system are really strong. If a demon king really came looking for trouble, Dustless complained as he gently rubbed his sore arms and made a painful expression. By his eyes rolled around one less demon king out of the four, a sly expression underworld would lose its stability. Staring at treaty that her brother Zax had spent so much deliberately laid in her would also rubbed against her. The fall of a demon king might cause the entire world to fall into a crisis. The towel she used to cover the important parts of her body had been knocked off by Dustless's tumbling. In their eyes, there are only demon kings and gods. Even so, Dustless could not help but shake his head. Laufia did not push Dustless away. In this world where gods were everywhere, this guy must be doing it on purpose. He was obviously suppressing Loki, and Loki, who is far away in the one-sided battle, is crying in the toilet. Super strong person like him who had swept through several dimensions. Remembering after Odin's a few minutes, she could only let it be. And the rest finally arrived at the gathering place of the younger generation of demons. Not only the appearance of Rhea's and the rest immediately were also circling around Dustless. However, taking the initiative when they saw Dustless's shoulders, they all left in disappointment. She looked like a pretty girl from a humble family, without a trace, making people want to take pity on Beelzebub's old face. This bastard. It would be difficult for them to survive in the underworld in the future. Then Lana complained. These guys are really Doesn't she know that I'm her mother-in-law? They'll go wherever the wind blows. Lana complained. Her tone filled with jealousy. Wisteria, and Rena said she know that I'm her mother-in-law? Stomping their feet. How dare he do it with other people in front of me? Their dissatisfaction was obvious. I must tell Rhea's to punish you. It was true that everyone would go their separate ways in the face of disaster. Lana was actually helpless. These people were really too snobbish. She could only protest verbally. You guys are really bored. She believed that Rhea's was also helpless against Dustless's arguing with a bunch of bugs. It was impossible to tame this kind of person. At this moment, that old guy Odin should have said something to you, table, right? Enjoying the food attentively. Dustless, who was lying in Laufia's arms, his image of wolfing down the food was completely ruined. Into her clear eyes. At least pay attention to your etiquette. His bright eyes seemed to be able to see through everyone's thoughts. Find out what kind of occasion it is tonight. I want to hand it over to Lord Odin. The Norse main god Odin and the other handful of silver and said bluntly, Lord Odin did want to hand me over to you. Sounded. At this point, Turning around, stared at Dustless with a slightly nervous expression. Ponytail dressed as a mage girl with a hot body glaring at him. Another one who wants to marry me. Dustless made a distressed expression. Dustless froze. He understood Odin's After stuffing another piece of cake into his mouth, humans were like chewing it slowly. He pointed at the people who were pointing at him. They would be coveted by everyone. These guys are just clowns. What are your plans? Do you have to respect them? Dustless hated fence-sitters who swayed according to the wind. Our relationship is so close. Tonight's banquet, aren't them? How could I let you go to that rotten old man and the Norse main god? Dustless put off the outer chest and said proudly, and said with bad intentions. So what? However, Having more
Hearing
people
this,
means more
Dustless
mouths to
pursed his
feed.
lips, not caring
Our
about
family's
Seraphal's
expenses
identity
have
as
long been
Demon
seriously
King.
over the limit.
You're a Demon King
When the
too.
time comes, I might
Have
be
I ever
forced to work
respected you?
outside by Zhu Nai.
As
The
the
herbal
initiator
tea that had just
shouldn't you
entered her mouth
compensate me
spurted
now?
out without a care for her
Staring
image.
at Lasvia's voluptuous
Veins
body,
popped out on
Dustless's
Seraphal's
smile
forehead.
was extremely perverted.
This guy was obviously the kind of person who liked to poke at
You
her sore
two should
spot.
at least pay attention.
Don't treat me and Lady
Dustless
Venelana
not
like
only
air.
did not respect her,
He did not
especially
even
since
take
you are
Seraphal's
Ria's
seriously.
fiancé.
Instead,
You should pay more
he
attention
treated
to
her
your
like
image.
a joke.
Not
Gulifia
only
stood
did
up
he
and
not
scolded
respect
Dustless,
Seraphal,
her
who was a
face
demon
serious.
king, he even forcibly
This
took
woman
away
is really
her chastity.
unreasonable when she's in work mode. Dustless looked at Gulifia in confusion.
Chapter
He was impressed by her
1382.
professionalism. Hearing this,
It was not easy to
Diodora
be in
was
work
furious.
mode no matter the time and place.
Ever since he met Dustless,
However,
this jinx,
it was useless
his
against
glorious
Dustless.
life had gradually fallen
Not
into
only
a trough.
that, but he even teased.
Moreover,
Miss Gulifia,
this unlucky guy
could it
was
be that
still
you're jealous
haunting
of
him.
Lafias?
No matter where he
If
was,
you don't mind,
he would go
you can
against
use
him.
my legs.
If it were not for
In
the
your
huge
dreams,
difference in strength, he
Gulifia's
would definitely
face
pounce on
flashed with
Dustless
anger.
and strangle him to death.
Dustless's teasing
This
gaze
guy
made
was
her
too
uncomfortable.
infuriating.
Her face was as
Diodora
red as
even
an
felt
apple,
that living under
almost
the
dripping
same
blood.
sky as Dustless for a
You
long
are now
time
the
would reduce his
son-in-law of the Gimli
lifespan by 100
family.
years.
You represent the Gimli
Diodora,
family's
you are not
image.
welcome here.
Gulifia
Please leave
reiterated
immediately.
solemnly.
This
Ria's
woman
walked
is
over
always
quickly
making
with an
things
unfriendly
difficult for
look
me.
on her face.
I have to teach her a lesson.
She was extremely
Dustless's
furious.
ears were about to grow
This
calluses
guy was
from
clearly
Gulifia's
not
nagging
Dustless'
every
strength,
day,
but he still came to provoke her.
Dustless's eyes
He
flashed
really
with a
did not
smug
know how to
smile.
spell the word death.
His powerful mental force
too.
rushed into Gulifia's
Diodora's
mind.
face turned green.
Rias and
Do you need a
Dustless
back
were in
rub?
cahoots.
This is one
This
of my
overpowered
responsibilities as a
combination
maid.
was invincible. Gulifia's
In the
words were
future,
shocking. Diodora's voice
Gulifia's
suddenly
expression
stopped.
changed instantly.
His gaze passed through
Her
the
stern
sea of
expression
people and
was
landed on
replaced by a
Sazax
gentle
and
one.
the others who were rushing over
Her
from
gaze
afar.
towards Dustless was also
A
filled
scheme
with
instantly
gentleness.
formed in his mind.
Dustless used an
This
illusion
time,
to change
I will
Gulifia's
definitely
vision,
kill you,
making her think that he was
With a
Sazax.
perfect plan in mind,
Gulifia,
Diodora's eyes turned green.
Are you not feeling well?
He stopped bickering with
Or are
Dustless
your eyes
and turned
playing
to look
tricks
at
on
Isha,
you?
who was talking
Ria's
and laughing.
mother,
Venelana,
I can't win
frowned.
against the two of you.
This
but
was
she,
unbelievable.
I can still
Gulifia
easily
usually
take her
avoided
down.
Dustless as much as she
Diodora
could,
locked
so
onto
why would she
Isha
help
with
him
evil
rub his back
intentions
now?
and
turned into a venomous snake
I'm a little
as he
tired
pounced.
after working the whole day.
You have a death wish.
I'm very grateful that you're
Seeing
willing to
this,
rub my back.
Ria's and Dustless's eyes
Dustless
flashed
replied with a
coldly.
smile.
Both of them
Only
were
an
enraged
idiot
by
would refuse
Diodora's
such a thing.
shamelessness.
Let's go
He
together.
was a typical
Losfia.
*** who bullied
Ignoring
the
her
weak
panic,
but feared the anger.
Dustless hugged her without warning
If I
and
can't
whispered,
get you after
Gulifia
so much
wants
scheming,
to rub my back,
then I might as well
but I'm
use
used to
force.
lying on my stomach.
After all,
If
you
I
already
sit,
know my true
back
nature.
will hurt. There is
Damn
no
it,
need to
there's no
continue
place for me
hiding
to lie
anything.
down, so I'll have
Pulling
to borrow
off
your
his
body.
gorgeous and hypocritical
Let me
exterior,
lie down.
Diodora revealed
Without
his ugly
asking
and
for
ferocious
Lasvia's
nature.
permission,
Dustless put
just
her
as
down
he was
on the
about to
ground
reach
and climbed
Isha,
up. A gorgeous flash
their bodies
suddenly entered his
overlapped.
eyes and stopped behind Isha, blocking Diodora's
Chapter
wolf paw.
1372.
How dare you touch my
Lafia
people?
stared blankly at the
You
shameless
have some
Dustless.
guts. Her
Raising
head was
his bright
spinning,
golden
and she
foot,
was completely
Dustless aimed at
dumbfounded.
Diodora's face and
Her
kicked
mouth
out
was wide
mercilessly.
open as she stared at Dustless,
Lightspeed kick,
who was lying on top of her.
The straight beam of destruction
Lafia
mercilessly
could feel that her
blasted
proud
into
cleavage
Diodora's
had been
head,
squashed into a meat patty
so
by
strong.
Dustless.
But she could
Theodora's
not
pupils
care less
suddenly
about
shrank,
that at this
but
moment.
a smile of having succeeded
How dare
in her
he let
scheme
Ria's
flashed in her
sister-in-law,
heart.
Gulifia.
He then
scrubbed
cast
his
a
back in front of
defensive magic
mother-in-law
array on
Venelana,
himself to block
and more
the kick.
importantly, he used me as a cushion.
Even Lolth did not know
Even
how
so,
to express her
after a
emotions
few
in this
seconds of
situation.
stalemate, the dazzling
This
magic
guy was
circle
simply
was
a
finally
fearless demon
extinguished,
king who was
torn
not
apart
afraid
by
of
the
anything.
powerful force of the Lightspeed
Not
kick.
only did he do whatever he
Boom,
wanted in
boom,
front of
boom.
mother-in-law, he
In
even
the
winked at
end,
Venelana
tragedy still
and molested
befell
her.
Theodora.
Lafia
The
gave him a
dazzling light
thumbs up
engulfed her and
inside.
sent her flying.
Not
However,
bad. As the magic array
very
had blocked
comfortable,
most of the
Gulifia,
impact,
just
as
now,
expected of
the
my
force
maid,
that hit Diodora's
Dustless
body was only
smiled and
20%
praised,
or 20%
completely
of its
ignoring
original power.
Lafia's stupor.
Whoosh, whoosh,
He laughed in
whoosh.
his heart. Bang, bang,
So
bang.
what if I'm like this?
Even if Sazax himself
Theodora
and Ria's
was
old
sent
man
flying
saw
backward
it,
like a
they
cannonball.
wouldn't dare say anything. She flew back
My
100
fist
meters
is the
and headed
biggest.
straight for the entrance of the
He
villa.
was just like the evil god
Ha, ha, ha.
Loki,
Theodora,
who had been killed
who
before.
was sent flying, suddenly
was
let out a
arrogant and
horse
did not
laugh,
care about
which was
morality.
puzzling. The
Could only difference was that this despicable fellow did this on purpose. Time
His
passed
goal is to
quickly,
cause a
and
conflict
before he
between
knew
Dustless
it, he
and
had
the Demon
fallen
King.
asleep under Gulifia
Does
and
this the
Lothia's careful
asterisk
care.
star know the consequences
This
of doing
caused
this?
veiny Lana, who was at the
Rias was
side,
furious.
to blow her beard and glare.
She vaguely understood what
She
Theodora
lowered her
was
feet
planning.
and stomped her chest,
Looking
feeling
over,
indignant.
in
In the direction where Theodora was
7
sent
days
flying,
passed in the
a
blink
few
of an
high-ranking
eye.
figures were walking
It
over
was
with
close
smiles.
to evening,
when it was close
this
to night.
kid,
Dustless and the people from the paranormal
He's very
research department
sinister.
went out for a walk. I was actually tricked by him. They strolled in the fresh air of the dense
He's quite
forest,
smart.
filled with the natural
Dustless
fragrance
smiled
of oxygen.
indifferently.
It was
He was
refreshing
not
and
afraid
energizing,
even if he
had to fight with the Demon
How
King.
rare.
Boom,
You
boom,
actually
boom.
came out for a walk with us.
The wall at the entrance of the villa
Rias
was
looked rather
smashed by
surprised
Diodora
because
Dustless looked like a
the
lazy
entire
person.
villa trembled,
and a
He would
large
not
amount
even
of dust
exercise
fell off.
after a meal,
let alone take a
Diodora
walk.
was stuck in the wall, half dead.
Sleeping after eating was the
She
most
only had a
realistic
weak
portrayal
breath
left to
left to
breathe.
breathe.
Don't make it
Unfortunately,
sound so
the few
bad.
people standing beside
After
Theodora
all,
were
I'm your
Sizax and the
fiancé.
other Demon Kings.
You have to protect my
Seeing
image,
such a scene,
especially when there
everyone
are
held
other
their
people
breath.
here. This was a
Dustless
banquet
looked at
hosted
Rias
by the Demon
unhappily.
King.
Anyone
Anyone
who
who dared to
Aisha
cause
were
trouble
also
in public
there.
must have 8 heads.
As for the other girls,
Especially
they were
when
all
the person
combative
being
people
beaten
who
was a
liked to
relative
train.
of the Demon King,
and
the
the
Demon King was present.
What do you mean by other people?
This person who dared to hit
It
someone
seems that
must be
Lord
tired
Chin
of
is
living.
treating us as outsiders.
Who did this?
Could it be that
How
our
dare
relationship
they?
is not close enough?
The scene was oppressive
I'm
for
so
a few
sad.
seconds. Are you
Then,
sad
the
too?
powerful roar of the
Aisha.
explosion brushed past
Junai's
everyone's
tone
ears.
was gloomy, filled with
Everyone
hidden
took a
bitterness.
few steps back in fear.
However,
for
there was
fear
a
of
smile
being
on her
caught in the
face,
crossfire,
as if she was teasing
At the
Wuchen.
same time, they looked
Yes,
at Dustless at the
Aisha
same
is
time.
sad too.
Without a doubt,
Disappointment
the culprit
flashed in
was
her
him.
gem-like eyes.
How dare you cause
Aisha
trouble at
nodded
such an
and said
important
sourly,
banquet?
Ever since Dustless
The person
became
who
the
shouted
fiancé
seemed to
of
be
the
a
department
department
head,
Demon Kings.
the number of times we spoke
The way
could
he
be
bared
counted
his
on
teeth
one
gave
hand.
people the feeling that he was
Our
a dog
relationship
threatening
has
to bully
fallen.
others. In this
This
world,
is bad.
Dustless is Aisha's
Rias
most important
frowned.
family member. Her hair was already dripping with
Then,
sweat.
Aisha locked her
She
gaze on
secretly
Dustless's
clenched her
face,
fists and
as
thought
if she
of a
was afraid
solution.
that he would run away.
There's no need to worry.
That's your illusion.
Dustless strolled
Why would
over,
I abandon
looking
you?
very relaxed.
Dustless gently
Idiot,
flicked Aisha's
do you know
forehead.
how big of a mess you've made?
He rubbed her long blonde
Rias's
hair
tone
and
was
comforted
rarely
her.
stern.
He rolled
She
his
gave
eyes at
Dustless a look
Junai.
and said,
"Do you see
the
that
latter
green-haired
just
man?
shrugged and had an expression
He's
that
a
said it
Chuka
had nothing to
Astaroth,
do with him.
one of the 4 demon kings who is
Vroom,
now
vroom, vroom.
Beelzebub."
Suddenly, the dark
The
forest lit
Theodora
up,
you sent
pulsating
flying
with
also
an
has the
unusual
surname
light.
Astaroth.
A beautiful
I
girl in
see.
revealing clothes
That
walked out
means
of the
that
light
Kid
slowly.
and the current demon king
Her
Chuka
every move
Astaroth are from
exuded
the same
charm.
family. Wuching
She
said
had
in
cute
realization,
cat-like ears,
and her
Rias
misty
nodded
eyes
heavily.
were filled with lust.
Just the thought of
She
beating
was a
up
living
Demon
demon.
King's family member in front
So
of the
it's
Demon
you,
King
Black
sent chills
Song of
down her
touching.
spine. You're
Gulp.
finally here. Everyone was
I guess
choking,
you're planning to
and
betray
scene
the
was
White
silent.
Dragon Emperor Wally.
Perhaps some terrifying
Dustless was
major
very
event was
calm.
about to happen. It was the complete opposite of the 3 girls who looked like they were about to face a great enemy. Chapter 1383. Maintain the formation. How dare he? Junai is in charge
How
of air
dare he?
support. How dare he?
Aisha is in charge of.
That was the
These
only
are all
thing left in
superfluous.
Diodora's mind. There's no need for
She
that.
originally thought that Dustless
You
would
3
lower
could
his
go
head
back.
and admit his guilt, but
Leave
now
her
it
to
seemed
me.
like it was just his wishful
Dustless
thinking.
glanced at Rias.
Not only would this guy
Seeing
not
her
admit his
slightly
guilt,
resistant
but he would
face,
also
he
provoke the
smiled
Demon
and
King
said,
regardless
"Don't you
of the
believe in my
consequences."
strength?
Are
you
you
guys
saying
will
that
only
I'm sick?
discourage me if you stay here.
Blue veins suddenly appeared on his
knows?
forehead as
Disaster
Demon
Mass
King Ashoka
might be
Astalot
plotting
flew
something
into a
against the
rage.
underworld.
He originally
Quickly
wanted to
tell
make
your
a
brother
big issue
Sizax
into a
about
small
this
one,
and let him
but this
prepare
guy
in
didn't
advance
give
to
him any
deal with any
face at all and
changes.
insisted on making a
I
big
know.
issue out of a small issue.
You have to be careful.
You didn't hear wrong.
Rias nodded silently.
Dustless replied with a smile.
Finally, she took a
He
deep
said
look
in a
at Black
very
Song of
serious
touching.
tone.
Her
Boom,
cold
boom,
eyes
boom.
seemed to be warning her not to
However,
do anything
the
rash.
moment Dustless finished speaking,
Oh,
the
don't
soaring
worry.
aura suddenly erupted
Although
like a
he's very
hurricane
handsome,
sweeping across
I won't
the
have
entire
children with
venue.
him.
The
Black
young
Songs
demons
with
with
touching
strength
teased her
status were
playfully,
all pressed to the
purposely
ground.
angering Rias. They were all sweating
This guy
profusely
really
and
knows
didn't
how to
even
rub
realize
salt
that
into
their
my
clothes
wound.
were wet.
Dustless
They were
frowned.
cursing Dustless in their hearts.
He knew that Black Song of touching
Even if you
was
want to
doing it
die,
on purpose.
don't drag us down with you.
His goal was to drive a wedge
Ashoka,
between him
calm
and Rias.
down. He's still
Humph.
young and doesn't know the
Rias
rules.
only snorted softly.
It wasn't just the younger
She then
generation of
glared
demons.
at Dustless Dustless fiercely and
Even
left.
Sakraz and the others standing beside Ichuka didn't expect him to suddenly attack
Dustless
and were
rubbed his
forced
head
to retreat by his
speechlessly.
violent aura. He felt like he
You
was
think
being
you can do
attacked
whatever
even
you
when he
want
was
after
lying
killing
down.
Loki.
Black
Ashoka
locked his gaze on
It's been
Dustless
7
and didn't
days
hide
since
his
you
killing
said last
intent at
time.
all. What's your
Hearing
decision?
that,
Dustless sneered.
Do you want to join my
faction,
or continue to do whatever you want just because you're the Demon King? I hope you don't make others feel like your laughable identity doesn't have the slightest deterrence in front of me. You might not be able to see your sister for the rest of your life. Good. He clenched his teeth and said, "Good." Chapter 1373. It was enough to show how angry Ashoka was. Stared at the Shang-Hei-gu. "If you want to fight, although her combat power was not bad," Dustless said casually as he hooked his finger. The reason why he tried so hard to rope into Shang-Hei-gu was because she was Kitten's sister. Most of Ashoka's aura deterrence Another reason was that when White Dragon Emperor Wally knew that his subordinate had betrayed this guy was completely he would definitely have a constipated expression. He completely turned a deaf ear to the Demon King's aura as if it didn't exist. Your condition. Hurry up and kill him. I'm afraid I can't agree. Diadora was extremely excited. Gathered her courage and said. She was waiting for Dustless to be beaten up miserably. With determination. Otherwise, you actually his hatred of being disfigured by Dustless's kick would be too unjust. Dustless said in surprise. Although Ashoka had unleashed all of his aura, he did not dare to make such generous conditions. Everyone frowned. At the same time, he could not help but be curious about why Shang-Hei rejected him. In terms of potential and strength, Dustless had said, Dustless completely defeated and had no right to abide by the rules of the demon world. The two of them could not be compared at all. He was not a demon. To be honest, but everyone understood the principle is indeed when in Rome do as the Romans do. The Shang-Hei-gu said seriously. Dustless had offended one of the four giants of the demon world, who had entered T-Rex. Let's wait and see for now. Was beaten up by Dustless without any dignity. This is really interesting. He was like a clown being teased without restraint. Waved his hand, a surprised smile on his face. Dustless expressed his head and chose not to help either side. He then stared at the Shang-Hei-gu's determined little face and seemed to have realized something. If there was a civil war in the demon world, but ask in a strange tone, would be no less than the sky more handsome than me. When that happened, the three major forces and some people from the disaster group might take advantage of the situation and rise up. She was shocked by Dustless's tragic war of the past few hundred years. She quietly looked at Dustless's and the negative impact would be incomparably fatal. She was even more confused about Dustless. Smiled faintly and glanced at the gloomy demon. So what if he is more handsome than you? Is there a need to show an expression as if he had met his father's murderer? It's not that Ashoka doesn't want to make a move. But his opponent is too terrifying. I rejected your condition because we are disaster Ashoka is afraid to act, so he doesn't dare to make an answer that made people frown. Gulifia could not help but look at Dustless. I understand what you mean. She saw that he was calm and unaffected by the Demon King's aura. Dustless suddenly understood and the entire ground was crushed by Ashoka's aura. Do you think that my background is not strong enough? And only the area where Dustless was standing was unaffected. The boss of disaster Orpheus, in fact, is the infinite dragon god. And I'm indeed a general without any backing. This sudden duel had started from the moment I even have to rely on someone else. It was just that Ashoka was silent upon hearing the results and did not answer. Was a little afraid of Dustless. But it was clear that she meant this. On the contrary, Dustless had not countered to admitting that Dustless was indeed nothing to the powerful, massive disaster. The fallen angel Athaziel, if she knew that the infinite dragon and the main god Odin were all very interested. The Great Red is also my mount. They had different attitudes kind of towards the grudge between Dustless and Ashoka. How exciting! In their eyes, Dustless had a strange expression on his face. Not to mention disfigurement, he suddenly felt several sharp auras locking onto him. Provoking the strong and saw a powerful magic circle flashing behind the Shang-Hei-gu, angering a creature of a higher dimension. Magic light what was this if not an idiot? You want to even fight if he was killed, he had only himself to blame. You should know the difference between us. If you don't make a move, asked calmly. I will. Back with a sneer, she had effortlessly made the first beautiful monkey. His body whistled out. His hand clenched was also present at that time, and his skin instantly became dark. If Dustless had not let the two of them go, they would have met in the underworld by now. Whoosh, whoosh, I'm the Demon King. Do you think I'm afraid of you? The Shang-Hei-gu was unmoved. Ashoka snorted, feeling that he did not even answer. The only response to Dustless was the dense magic light bullets. Wasn't this underestimating him? Bang, bang, bang. No, this was simply looking down on pieces. Angered, he was extremely King weak. Ashoka also clenched his hand into a fist of his body was towards Dustless. Whoosh, whoosh, bang, bang, bang. The part of his body that was destroyed suddenly and the eruption of the large directly destroyed the villa. Then, everyone thought that Dustless would be killed. Dustless. After all, from his head to his abdomen, was a demon king. All of them were transformed in sequence. But the result was the opposite. You dare to fight the me. Black shadow that was thrown out was Demon King Ashoka. TSK, TSK. Caw, caw, caw. Even if your little cat sound was creepy, I'll still punish you severely. His face was pale. What to do when a woman is disobedient? Destroyed the bones in his arm. It was very simple. The power of both sides was almost one-sided. He would use his absolute strength to shatter her confidence and trample on her dignity until it was worthless. Chapter 13. This was Dustless's philosophy. It did not matter if you were a man or a woman. Demon King Astaroth was so angry that his dignity were cracking. His eyes did not focused on the magic circle behind to be silent at this moment. Dustless's power began to go wild. It meant that Sazax and the others had tacitly agreed that Dustless had taken his position as the Demon King. Heavenly reflection. The bright light was instantly swallowed by the dark flames. To put it bluntly, it was almost extinguished in the blink of an eye and has nothing to do with the fallen angels. Even though she had a certain understanding of Dustless's strength in your struggle, Hegu of Deshang Hegu by the way, not help but I would like to express my personal opinion. According to her thoughts, even if she could not defeat him, this is the law that has not changed since ancient times. It would not be such a one-sided situation. On the surface, it is indeed he very seemed to be ignoring himself. If it were not for my mercy, he was quietly would have fallen to the ground by now. The hidden meaning was that whoever was stronger would be more suitable to be the Demon King. It carried an unparalleled to do with us angels. That's why you should be thanking me seriously now and not standing there in a daze. If other forces participate, cold air into it will be used against us. Archangel Michael also decisively distanced himself from this. Hegu of Deshang Hegu young people nowadays are really competitive for traces of Dustless, but Isashal and Michael are right. This is indeed not a problem that body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. Stroking his beard, immediately Odin had a strange look on his face with brutality, indicating that he would not interfere. Her fingers carried a sinister cold light as they attacked Dustless's face. Demon King Ichuka knew that he had been abandoned. Still not giving up. They all thought that Dustless had a better future than him, so he was abandoned. His gaze was cold. If it had been an ordinary person, he also let go of the grudge he would have been suppressed by the gods and demon kings. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. Dustless was special. When you attack me, this was the benefit of being strong. There's no need to influence the will of others. Even some of Banting's tricks are really good, not to mention especially when dealing with women and the others. It's simply godly. Their eyes were changing back and forth as if they were plotting something, and an awe-inspiring energy wave struck towards touching feel a sense of betrayal and anger. The kimono she was wearing instantly burst open, think that this guy is stronger than me. Smooth and delicate body. He is more suitable to be the Demon King than me. How could you use such a despicable method? Ichuka, who had nowhere to vent his anger, was so angry that her face turned pale. His face was red and his ferocious appearance was as if he was possessed by an evil spirit on his face. You are mistaken. She suddenly felt that although the man is not a matter of suitability, he was even more terrifying than a place where the strong preys on the weak. Compared to Dustless, it is only a matter of time before those who are not strong enough are eliminated. Only Dustless was not surprised by the reaction had no bottom line, and the others could be considered a demon. He had even guessed it. The demons were ruled by the four great demon kings, and the strongest of the four was probably the girl's ear-piercing and panicked screams echoed in the silent under the threat of calamity. And the frightened birds flapped their wings and flew away. And the Norse mythological system, the wild beasts that passed by would show definitely be able to ignore all enemies. However, when they quietly approached, the leader of the disaster their parents for not giving birth to dragon with 2 more legs and retreat surfaced, it meant what danger. Do you want? There was no one who could match him at all. Don't mess around. Otherwise, only the Great Red could be on par with Orpheus. You don't want to see her cry for me, the Great Red help them? For some reason, even though Dustless did not release his killing intent, needed a powerful person to appear, was still stared at by his calm was the best choice. His soul was chilled when he killed Loki, or when he killed Fenrir, your kid and or sister. Now when he was facing Demon King Ichuka. He had shown unparalleled strength. Please don't forget that you are also our enemy. Although and Demon one of the members of were disaster group, for the safety of the underworld, curled his lips between his close friends and the survival of the entire underworld. Now that he knew he was decisively chose where was he just now? Therefore, the scale of victory was uncomfortable with Dustless's words. It seems that this guy will naturally take the position of if you do something unfriendly to me. Seraph glanced at the few of them and sighed in her heart. You are our enemy now. She was afraid that as long as he defeated the current demon something that goes beyond human morality, Dustless would rise to the top and understand my difficulties. This matter did not originate from Ichuka. What the initiator was he could do anything. Self-righteous junior. Understand your difficulties. The strength you have shown now is not enough to defeat me. I am not difficulties do you have? And I will not repeat the same mistake. You don't have to take off my clothes even if you have difficulties. Silently guarded everything and especially chose to when Wu-Chin lied without blushing or panting. So what if he was unhappy? Black Song angry.
Was it possible
He was
to
like
start
an
a war
iron
with the
bucket
other
that
three
could not be
demon
swayed
kings,
by oil
as well
and
as
salt.
Archangel Michael, a
He would
Sashel,
not listen
and
to
Odin?
anything.
Of course,
Miss Hagu,
that was impossible.
what's your choice?
He would die
Do you
faster
want to join
if
us?
he did.
Join us, or join
Stupid
us.
thing.
Dustless
You've already
stared
been
sneakily
surrounded.
at touching Hagu.
Dustless said inexplicably as the Rinnegan in his left eye rippled faintly.
Her clothes were all destroyed
Looking at
by
the entire
Dustless.
sky, there were only
Now,
Dustless and
she
the
was
others.
just a white body.
There were no other
The important
reinforcements.
secret parts were also revealed at a glance.
I am surrounded.
Hee.
Dustless let out
Compared
a dark
to the
and
demon
wretched
king,
smile. I think you are more
His
suitable to
eyes
be
were
a
filled with
fantasist.
evil intent.
How about this?
He purposely oppressed
Bang, bang,
Heji's
bang.
nerves.
Before it
Gulp.
shook, his voice fell.
He
He suddenly
Heji's
spat out a
pretty
mouthful
face
of blood.
was as pale as paper.
His face suddenly became
Although she was
extremely
bold and
pale,
unrestrained
and his
by
body
nature
was
and
smashed
didn't mind
from the
finding
sky
an
to the
outstanding
ground.
and powerful person to
Boom,
happily
boom,
make
boom.
babies with. The script
He
in
lay
front of her was
miserably in the
completely
deep
different
pit,
from what
with
she had
an obvious
imagined.
fist mark on his abdomen.
Even if you take away my body,
the lower limit
you
of it
can't
took
take away
his
my
chest
heart.
was hit. You're
How
the
did he
best.
do it?
I
Did any of
believe
you
that
see him
love
do
grows
it?
with time.
A Sashel exclaimed in
Besides,
disbelief.
does it have anything to do with me whether I
Dustless
can get
didn't
your
move
heart
at
or
all.
not?
Sorry,
Dustless said with
I
a
didn't
wave
either.
of his hand.
He
and the
deliberately
others
put
shook
on
their
a hungry
heads,
look as he
with a
slowly
hint of
walked
melancholy
towards
on their
Black Song.
faces. The
They,
powerless
the
touching
so-called
Hagu
demon
was
kings
also
and
forced
gods,
under the tree
couldn't even
roots.
see when Dustless made
I
his
have
move.
108 tricks.
They were too incompetent.
Even if you pass out, I can
It's over
easily
when I
revive
say
you
it's
with my
over.
healing technique, so
Dustless's
you don't have to
feet
worry
landed
about
on the ground.
Shut up. His shadows had
agree to your
surrounded
conditions.
Enchanting and could kill him with one order.
Touching
This technique
Hagu,
was one of
who could not
Dustless's
take it
signature
anymore,
ninjutsu,
finally
Tomb of
compromised.
Reincarnation, border
His
prison.
gaze was dim as he said,
Only
I
those who
agree
had
to
the
your
6
conditions.
paths senjutsu, or
After
those
leaving
who had
White
the same
Dragon
eyes
Emperor
as
Wally's
Dustless,
place,
could
I
see
will be
the
your
existence
comrade.
of shadows.
No,
There was
I
no
will be your
doubt that this
subordinate.
world was equivalent to an
Hearing
invincible
this,
existence.
Dustless deliberately put on
No
a
one
wretched
could
expression.
see the shadows clearly.
He took off his jacket
The shadows
and threw it to
produced
Black
by
Song,
Tomb of
saying,
Reincarnation,
I've been waiting for
border
you to say
prison,
this.
could only be beaten. Black Song did not care about Dustless, who was complaining. He quickly took Dustless's
Chapter
clothes to prevent
1385.
himself from being exposed. No sense of
I
responsibility.
heard that you killed Loki.
Black
Perhaps,
Song's
but becoming a
expression
demon
changed.
king by accident was
He
just an
looked at
accident in the
Dustless with a
first
gaze
place.
of worship. He was
After
unfamiliar
all,
with the
the
demon
strong
king
were
class,
respected in this
and at
world,
the same time,
and powerful people
he wasn't
were sought
interested in
after.
it. The hard
that
work of
kid
being a
didn't know
demon
what was
king
good for
should be
him.
left to Sazax. So what if I killed him?
Go and call Gulifia
At first,
over.
I thought that the
I
gods
have
in this
something
world
for
were
her.
very strong, at
Dustless
least at the
suddenly
same
said
level
in
as
a deep
Kagaya
voice.
and the others. You really
However,
know how to order
Loki's
people
performance
around.
was very disappointing.
Black Song of Deshang
To be
pursed
honest,
her lips.
he was far from the god
Although
I
she was
expected.
dissatisfied, she
It
did
felt
not
like
refuse.
he was deceiving the world.
Dustless was indeed
Lying
her
on the
boss,
soft grass
and
and
she would
looking at the
definitely
bright
obey
moonlight,
Dustless's
Dustless
orders.
said with a waning heart.
Tap, tap,
His tone
tap.
was melancholy,
After jogging
as if
for
he
a
was
while,
fighting for justice
Black
for the
Song of
gods he
Deshang
had met.
disappeared. He always
Buzz,
felt that the
buzz,
gods in this world were
buzz.
pitifully
At the same
weak.
time,
As soon as Black Song of Deshang
Black
left,
Song was
the space
choked by
around them
Dustless's
rippled like
words.
water. He said bluntly, "It's not
Peeping
that
again.
Loki is weak." The corner of Dustless's
god,
mouth twitched. His strength is naturally
He
extraordinary.
thought of a certain lowly with
in
unique
the end,
interests and
it's
said
that
with
you're
a gloomy
so strong
expression
that it's beyond the
infinite
limits
dragon
of his
god
knowledge.
Orpheus.
What I don't
Peeping is
understand
not something
is,
a dragon
at this
god
point,
should do.
Black Song stared at
She had
Dustless's
peeped on him when
cheeks
he
and
was having
asked
sex in the
doubtfully,
past.
"I should be useless to you."
Now,
he could not
why are
ignore
you so
her.
obsessed with me?
You can actually find
Didn't I
me.
say it before?
But it's normal if
Dustless
it's you.
glanced at Black Song
A
in
crisp and sweet
dissatisfaction
voice
and
entered
repeated,
his ears.
It would be best if the other
Then,
subordinates
a
of White
crack
Dragon
appeared in the
Emperor
void,
Wally jumped
and a
ship.
girl in a gothic lowly
I'm
costume
really looking
stepped
forward
out
to
from
Wally's
it.
constipated,
Her dark
angry
eyes
face
were
that has
shining
nowhere to
brightly
vent.
like black agates.
As long as he thought
She
of White
stared at the
Dragon
naked
Emperor
Wuchen
Wally's
indifferently,
expression of,
and her
"I'm
expression
stuck into the
didn't
heavens."
regard him as an
Dustless
outsider.
wanted to immediately fly over and
Dustless
give him
was
a good beating.
speechless. At
You
the same
perverted
time,
dragon,
he
at
wanted
least
to
be a
step
little
on
shy.
Wally's face a few times.
Don't act so matter-of-factly.
Just for this. What's
Hearing
the matter?
this,
Black Song's
Dustless
mouth
frowned.
twitched.
He
He
did not have
know
any
whether
deep
to
grudges
laugh
with
or
Orpheus.
cry. What
Especially
kind of mentality
after
was
taming
this?
the Great Red,
Orpheus
in order to
favored
see
him
others
more.
suffer.
He actually
Nothing.
did such a thing that harmed
There was
others
no
without
bullying in
benefiting
her
himself.
calm tone.
Black
Orpheus
Song
always
had a new
had this kind of
understanding
calm
of Dustless,
tone,
as
he
if
was
nothing had
willful as a
anything to do with
child.
her.
However,
Then why are you
it's
looking
not
for
bad
me,
to join your
especially
camp.
in this kind of situation?
situation.
At least I can be with
Dustless
Diane
said
Kitten
gloomily.
every day.
He then began to
At
put
this
on his
point,
clothes.
Black Song had a satisfied smile on his face.
Orpheus asked.
What a dishonest
There
fellow.
was a rare ripple in
Dustless
his
glanced
calm
at
tone.
Black Song indifferently.
I believe that you and the
It was
Great
because
Red
he
should
understood
understand
the
that this
nature that
world is not
Dustless
my
took her
beginning,
in, and it is definitely not my end. Black Song cared a lot about Kitten in his heart. Dustless just did not say it out loud and answered frankly. Orpheus remained silent. At this moment, she knew that other than this world, appeared in the sky. There were many other worlds. Dustless was not a character from this world, Chapter 13, because there was no such person in the various mythological Light flashed systems. In the sky. Otherwise, judging from the outline, the Great Red it should be a magic circle to legends and invincible. The light was shining and embellished with a strange light. Do you want to go to other worlds with me? The void within the magic circle was severely distorted. Dustless smiled. A weirdly dressed person rushed out. He had a good impression of this young female dragon. He was wearing armor and had a hairpin on his forehead that no one had ever seen before. She was still a naive girl who was being used. It looked more like the golden hoop incantation. Who did not know anything about the world, he was also floating in the sky on a cloud. Anything. Other than that, he was also carrying a golden staff. Only Wally's subordinate can dress so comically. The infinite dragon god Orpheus gently pursed his thin lips, just a defeated and a bright light flashed across his bright eyes. You actually dared to come to me. He forced a smile on his face. Did your strength increase recently, as if he had finally heard the answer that he had been waiting for a long time? Dustless said disdainfully as he carefully observed the black dot in the sky. Dustless answered cheerfully. His words were full of contempt. There was no problem bringing Orpheus along. Sigh. He would even have a free fighter. Goose sighed lightly. You must not lie to me. The beautiful monkey's strength was actually not dragon bad, god Orpheus compared to Dustless, as he waved his fist. It was not worth mentioning. That threatening fist not to mention him. Even if the you dare to lie to boss Wally I will definitely beat you to death. He could only nurse a grievance when encountering the Devil King like after Dustless. The Great Red left. Orpheus was the only one left in this world. Why are you here? He was indeed very beautiful lonely. Monkey's voice was amplified being alone several in the dimensional times. Crevice where all life was his forbidden. Expression was also he would definitely die alone. Don't worry Lord about Black Song. At the same Dragon Emperor Wally also hurried over, ignoring Black Song's shock. She was stunned when she saw the infinite dragon god into a bad situation, and her killing intent immediately turned cold. He also ignored Black Song's dull eyes. She was familiar with his dry lips toward Black Song's face. Stop. He's one of us, Dustless said solemnly when he sensed Galefia's mana seeping out of her body. His pupils were dark and empty. She's the leader of the calamity Orpheus, Dustless, the infinite had a slightly arrogant smile on his face. She's also one of us. He was instantly furious. Retorted. For some reason, one in front of her he was vaguely a demon. Saw the teasing in Dustless's a great eyes. Enemy of the entire world. His heart was filled with disappointment. I'm his bodyguard, not his enemy. See, Orpheus this guy pointed is at Dustless as she patted her lackluster cleavage. Hurry up and get Wally out of here. Bodyguard. Dustless waved his hand. Dustless was speechless. His tone was full of pride. He didn't think anyone could protect him. Tricking a person's most trusted subordinate was the most successful thing. Galefia, go and tell Sazax that the old demon king. As expected, boom, beautiful monkey's body shook. Before Wu Chen's voice fell, floated in the sky violent tremor and looked down at the silent black song of Tao. Due to the strong force, he immediately understood that Dustless was telling the truth, waking up the few women who were sleeping soundly. Silence was a silent acknowledgement. Oh. Black Song, looks like I'm one step too late. What do you think will happen to Wally if you do this? They've already started the attack. He will lose all face. Dustless stretched his back. The beautiful monkey's hoarse voice he was sure that the old demon king's people had ambushed this ongoing ranking game. Don't forget Wally's identity. That's fine. Even if you're not as good as him now, I'll get rid of all of you and then hand this broken world to Sazax. A voice without warning resounded through the void in the distance. The beautiful monkey clearly see the hordes of discovered that Dustless had disappeared without a trace. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count how many invaders there were. A cold voice came from the front. No matter how many there were, the beautiful monkey wouldn't change anything. At some unknown time, this was destined to be a bloody massacre. Had already appeared in front of him. The strength of the two sides was not great red in his eyes. The White Dragon Emperor Wally is here too. My goal is the vast universe. If you're willing to keep a low profile and hide, he has already lost in terms of goals. But you don't seem to understand the difficulty of defeating me is no less than defeating God. The silver figure roaming the horizon was arrogant, so you can understand the difference. Like a god who ruled the heavens, he looks down at the chaotic underworld. His eyes sweeping around as if he was looking for animals like monkeys. He was so arrogant that he didn't even care about the beautiful monkey, as if they were insignificant characters not worth mentioning. Grow and stretch, wishful staff. The iron staff that was as thin as a willow branch suddenly multiplied in size and finally turned into a towering pillar that smashed towards Dustless. Even a god would find it difficult to capture its trajectory, at the beautiful let alone the current white dragon Emperor Wally. Dustless gently shook his head and immediately rode on the light. Therefore, his body was inevitable to be transparent as he directly ignored the existence of the wishful staff. Could only take a beating. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lightspeed kick. In an instant, mercilessly, he arrived in front of the beautiful monkey. White Dragon Emperor Wally's face. The sky doesn't suit you. The armor covering his face on the ground made a crisp caw-caw-caw
a large amount of light gathered under his feet.
All the bright beams of light blasted
into his face.
Light speed
boom,
kick.
Boom, boom.
Whoosh, whoosh,
White
whoosh.
Dragon Emperor Wally was mercilessly
severely injured
down,
beautiful
and
monkey
the ground
suddenly
was smashed
into
into
a
shocking deep pit.
The somersault
His
cloud
face
under
was
his
covered
feet
in blood
was also
and scorch
destroyed by the
marks as he
powerful
lay in the
force
pit.
of the light speed kick.
A single kick had left him
Finally,
half dead.
The beautiful monkey fell to the ground
not
powerlessly.
bad.
The hardness of the armor
Boom,
seems
boom,
to have
boom.
become stronger. The huge
No
forest
wonder
was
you
destroyed
dare to
because
invade
of
the
the
underworld
impact of
and
the
challenge
beautiful
me
monkey
so
arrogantly. A huge pit
But I'm
appeared,
sorry,
and the
I
lush
forgot to
green
tell you
forest
before.
became a disaster area.
The last time I fought you,
You're too weak.
it was not my full strength at all.
You don't even have the qualifications
Dustless,
to make me
who
take
was
you
floating in the
seriously,
sky,
said to
The
himself.
sarcastic tones suddenly mocked the
bastard.
beautiful monkey.
White Dragon Emperor
Dustless
Wally stubbornly
mind
stood
waned.
up and spat out a mouthful
Hateful.
of blood.
I was obviously defeated
few
by
white
this guy
teeth
last
could
time.
be clearly seen. I have already
His
entered the
face was
training
sunken
and even
in,
asked
his
Orpheus
nose was
for help,
crooked,
and there was a faintly
Why am I
discernible
still
footprint
defeated
on
by
his
the same
face.
move?
Got
The
it.
beautiful monkey's eyes
There was a
were
violent
scarlet.
roar from the sky,
In front
and
of
then
Dustless,
the void above
he only
Dustless's
felt
head
that he was a
suddenly
clown.
turned dark. The other
It's
party
you
could
again.
trample on him at will,
Looking
and it
up
was
at
just
the
a
fallen
casual
giant
and simple
iron
move.
rod.
Dustless frowned.
You only trained for a few
Combined
months,
with the
and I have
slightly
been
familiar
increasing my
voice
strength
and the
for
unique
hundreds
wishful
of
steel
years.
rod, there seemed
It's
to be no
normal
other
that you
attacker
can't beat
except
me.
for the person who claimed to be
Traversing
the beautiful
3
monkey,
worlds,
including the one
I
in front
didn't
of
kill
him.
you last
It was
time
already
because you
4
had the
worlds.
value of a message.
Dustless's strength
As for
was
this
improving
time,
all the time.
please disappear.
You want to surpass
It's annoying
me,
to see
who
an
has
eyesore like
experienced
you
countless
wandering
life and
around.
death struggles for hundreds of
High-density
years in a few
spiritual
months.
pressure
erupted in his body,
Naive.
and the earth was under Dustless's control
words were
and
filled
began to
with
tremble
endless
violently.
contempt.
A
His
fiery
hundreds of
red
years of
blade-shaped
hard work
flame
was
was clearly
surpassed in a few
visible,
months.
and the remaining moisture
He
in the
might
air
as well
quickly
die.
evaporated as if it was the end
Don't
of the
be
world.
too proud.
Path of
Dusting
destruction,
off the dust
one
on his
blade
body,
cremation.
the
beautiful monkey still
The flame
gritted
blade
his teeth
rose
and
from
stood
the
up.
ground,
And the invincible
White Dragon
power
Emperor
directly
Wally
swallowed
was
his
his close
silver and the
friend.
entire staff.
At this time,
He
so
must
beautiful
support
monkey
White Dragon
disappeared
Emperor
together
and
with
must
his
not
beloved
cower.
weapon.
You don't
Boom,
know the
boom,
meaning
boom.
of death. The
Seeing
earth-shattering
this,
explosion
Dustless's
swept through the
eyes
sky,
flashed coldly.
and the strong impact
He
caused
lifted his
everyone to
thumb with a
retreat
cold
again and
gaze,
again, and a high-density
The remnants
destructive
of the
light
monkey
beam
and the
gathered in
wishful
front of him.
staff
were not left behind. Laser
Beautiful
shot.
monkey is dead.
As soon as his
White
voice
Dragon
fell,
Emperor
the
Wally
light
said
beam
in
was
a
down.
daze.
The
His
armor that
eyes
the
were
beautiful
wide
monkey
open,
was
and he
wearing
found
was
it
as thin
hard
as
to
a
accept
cicada
this wing.
situation. It was as
It was just
fragile as
one
paper
move.
and couldn't
How could it be
withstand a
so
single
simple?
blow. It's
It
not
was
like he's
easily
penetrated.
penetrated.
I've already
Pucci.
said that the reason he was
A
still
charred
alive the
hole
last
appeared in
time
the
was
beautiful
because he was
monkey's
useful
heart.
as a messenger. It was about the
Now
size
that
of a
he's
thumb,
useless and
but the
dares to
power was
provoke
not
me,
to be
he'll
underestimated.
definitely die.
His entire
Dustless
body
said
was
in a
penetrated.
matter-of-fact
tone. Then,
Chapter
he looked at the White Dragon
1376.
Emperor and said, "Don't worry,
Beautiful
don't
monkey
be sad.
was in unbearable pain.
You have no more value."
He didn't expect
Dustless to
You
be
will
so
soon
strong.
go to the
underworld to continue
His
your
strength was
previous
boundless.
fate. There's
He
no
had
need
trained
to thank
hard
me.
for a
while, but it was
I'm just
useless
that kind
against
of person.
Dustless. Dustless
He was just
gathered a
asking
large
for
amount of light
humiliation.
in his hand. It was as
He
difficult
coldly
as
glanced
ascending
at
to
it
heaven
and
to fight
thousands of
against
light
Dustless
bullets
rained down. Although my body
Yasikani
isn't that
no
strong,
Magatama.
it's not that weak either.
Rays
of light poured down
He
like
easily
locusts,
destroyed my
and
armor
Wally
with a
struggled
raise
to
of his
stand
hand.
up, and even penetrated
His
my
eyes
body.
were filled with determination
The
as he
beautiful
chanted an
monkey was
obscure and
incomparably
ancient
shocked.
incantation.
For a moment,
It sounded quite
even the pain was
extraordinary
thrown
and
far
solemn.
away.
I,
Having such a
awaken.
strong enemy like Dustless
Bring the
was simply
absolute law
everyone's
to the
nightmare.
White Dragon
Emperor of Darkness.
Even if he was still
Run
alive,
through the dream of dawn
he would
with
still be
infinite
living in
destruction.
fear.
Go to the tyrannical path.
Shoo, shoo, shoo.
Become the emperor of the
A
pure
sharp
dragon.
explosion
Lead
sounded,
thou to the
and
silver
beautiful
fantasy,
monkey
and the
suddenly
pinnacle
felt
of the
the demonic
world in his
path.
eyes was extremely dazzling.
As soon as
his voice fell,
raising
Wally's
his head,
body emitted
he
a
saw
bright
that Wu
light.
Chen's
raised shining
His
foot
small
was
body
already
was
aiming
enlarged
at his
without
head,
limit,
and he became an
Hee-hee,
unprecedented
seeing
behemoth.
such a scene,
Beautiful
Moreover,
monkey revealed
the
a
magical
carefree
fluctuation
was unbelievably strong.
Sometimes,
being killed was
Dustless
also
was
a kind
caught
of
off
relief,
guard and was sent
especially
flying.
when you knew that you couldn't
No
defeat
wonder
the
this
enemy.
guy is so confident.
You would live in a nightmare
It
forever.
turns out that he has entered this
Death
mode.
was the wisest choice.
It's worthy of praise.
However, he was
Dustless
destined to be
nodded
disappointed
slightly
and gave a rare look
Don't
of
show
admiration.
such an
indifferent expression. Wally soared in the sky,
Don't worry,
and the
I
void
won't kill
was
you.
Completely occupied by his
Dustless
huge
shook
body.
his finger and revealed a
Don't worry
is
expression.
It's not good
Bursts
to fight
of dragon
and kill.
roars that belonged to the
You'd
ancient
better
era
live
resounded
peacefully.
through the world.
At least help
Looking
me
up
pass
at the
a few
behemoth
words
that
to your
occupied the
master.
void.
Everyone
The light
felt that they were
condensed on the
extremely
bottom of his
small
foot
and
disappeared,
fragile like an hourglass.
and his right foot landed on the ground
Wally
again.
didn't need to crush them.
What do you mean?
Just by slightly
Beautiful
flapping
monkey
his wings
asked
on
in a
both
hoarse
sides,
voice.
he could easily destroy
If he
them.
could, He would rather die.
What a big lizard.
Nothing. In this mighty and solemn environment,
that for people like
extremely
you, rather than letting you die
and be relieved,
White
it's Dragon
better to
Emperor
let you live in a
Wally's
nightmare
huge dragon
forever.
eyes surged with gloomy
Dustless's
murderous
mouth
intent.
revealed a devilish cold smile.
He had paid a lot to
Tell
enter
Wally
this
that he
unique
must
and
work
powerful
hard.
mode. With such
And
a
the
valuable
initiator
enemy
was
like
this
me,
lawless and
if he doesn't
mischievous
have any
person in front of
motivation,
him,
he will have no
Does
way
this
out
guy
in the
look
future.
down on others?
This guy,
White Dragon
is
Emperor
so
Wally's
ruthless.
huge dragon eyes
Dark
looked down
Song's
at
beautiful
Dustless,
eyes
and his
flashed
eyes
with
flashed with
realization.
dissatisfaction.
She immediately understood
Dustless's sloppy
Dustless's
face
intention.
obviously didn't take him seriously
He wasn't being
when he
merciful,
entered this new mode,
but he was silently telling
He
White Dragon
completely
Emperor
regarded
Wally,
him as a joke.
your companions' lives are
The
in my
me in
hands.
this state is completely different
If
from
you
the
don't
mode
want them
just
to be
now,
killed, then work hard.
You'd better be serious.
This was to stimulate Wally to
Otherwise,
abuse
I'll
himself
kill
crazily.
you in an instant.
You bastard!
If that's the case,
kill me if you
it'll
have
be
the
too
guts.
boring.
The beautiful
humiliation
monkey's
you brought
expression
me,
changed.
I'll pay you back double.
He also understood Dustless's scheme.
No.
Dustless
You've
wanted to use him
misunderstood.
to provoke Wally. The one who should be worried
His method
is you,
was despicable
Wally.
and sinister.
Shaking his finger,
Hee.
Dustless chuckled and
You don't have a
immediately pointed
choice.
to the depths of the void.
Dustless laughed
The
sinisterly.
lazy white cloud seemed to
At
have
the
touched
same
the
time,
heaven and earth.
he looked towards
and
to
instantly
Shang and
disappeared
Hegu,
without a trace,
giving her a meaningful glance.
The cloudless sky was
Phew,
incomparably dark in the
hopelessly,
blink of an
Black
eye,
Song could
as if
only
it had
do as he
encountered a
was told.
catastrophe. After
The
all,
whole world
Dustless
became
was his
oppressive
current
dark.
boss. Moreover, he was eccentric and unpredictable. If he offended
Chapter
him, he would not be able to
1387.
bear the consequences.
In the
depths of the void, there were more than tens of
Dustless
millions of
decisively
bright god
opened the
gates
magic
that were
array
falling
used to
travel
ruthlessly.
through time and space.
In addition,
and then kicked
Wally
it in.
was in the
silver
in
extreme
a special
Tyrannosaurus
mysterious
mode
space.
at this moment. A blue light
His
flashed
body
in
was
the sky,
already huge,
and the battered
so he
and
suddenly
exhausted
became the
beautiful
best
monkey
target
stepped
to
out
attract
from it.
firepower.
Boom, boom, boom.
White
Dragon Emperor Wally
Wally
frowned
was
and
not a
asked in
pushover.
confusion. How did you end up
He,
like this? Who had experienced hundreds
Who
of
hurt you?
battles, also noticed
Black
the
Song
bright
hasn't
god
returned
gates
yet.
that were falling from the void.
Wally's eyes flashed with
he
hostility.
controlled his huge body to
He
avoid the
actually
bombardment
valued
of
his
the bright
companions.
god gates. It's that guy
However,
called
the
Dustless.
idea was good,
but the
Black
reality was
Song
cruel.
won't be
coming back. Dustless just
He,
sneered and made another hand
dragging
gesture.
his
tired body to sit
Wally's
on the ground.
body was like
the
a
beautiful
magnetic
monkey
field.
said helplessly. She
Wherever
has joined
he flew,
Dustless's camp.
the
bright god gates
From
would
now
follow.
on,
She's our enemy.
Caw, caw, caw.
Although he knew that these
Unable
words
to
were a
evade,
big blow to
she was
Wally,
finally
the
struck by the
beautiful
bright
monkey
deity
still
gate.
felt that it was necessary
The
to make
powerful
it clear.
force
forced her to fall
Caw,
to the
caw,
ground.
caw.
The gorgeous
ground
silver
under
white
White
dragon
Dragon
Emperor
was covered in
Wally's feet
filth,
suddenly burst
and there were
open.
even some parts that were smashed
His body
into
erupted
pieces.
with an extremely oppressive
These
aura.
damn
things are so powerful.
He
He
had
had always been the one to tease
Wally's
others.
eyes
narrowed. When had anyone
His
dared
expression
to tease
was
him
slightly
like this?
gloomy
as he stared at
How's
Dustless.
that guy called
Dustless's
He
strength
tried to stand
recently,
up,
but he was
Your
shocked to
strength
find
has
that the
improved a
magic
lot
power in his
recently.
body was quickly dissipating.
Even if you can't beat him,
these
you shouldn't
redwoods
lose
can
too
absorb my
badly.
magic power. Wally asked in a
Finally,
hoarse voice.
Wally
could no longer keep calm.
His stern
tone seemed to be
His
looking for
tone was
Black
raised
Song
by
and
several
Dustless to
notches.
settle the score. His body seemed to
Recently,
be full of
he
countless
and the
holes.
beautiful
monkey had been training
His
themselves
magic power
crazily.
leaked
out crazily.
Their
and
strength
more than
was
half of
completely
it was
different
absorbed
from
in a
before.
dozen seconds. To be honest,
What would
last
happen if a
time he
few minutes
deliberately
passed?
teased me, so he
He
fought
might
a few
even
more
be
moves
squeezed
with
into a
Dustless.
dried husk.
As a result, he didn't play with me this time. Wally
He only
resisted with
used
all
one
his
move
strength,
to severely
and his
injure
body
me.
exploded
The
with
beautiful
super-dimensional
monkey's tone
power.
was extremely depressed.
He came here today to
He
find
lowered his
Dustless
head
to
in
completely
shame and
end
did
his
not dare to
relationship
look at
with
Wally's
him, not
eyes.
to stay here and make a fool
In
of
fact,
himself. Dustless only used
especially the
Lightspeed
audience
Kick
who wanted
to
to
severely
see him
make
injure
a
him.
fool of himself was the
The
person
remaining
Wally hated
laser
the most.
was completely
Dustless.
superfluous.
Buzz, buzz,
To put it
buzz.
bluntly,
he deliberately
Wally's
disgusted
huge
him.
body
rippled, and the
Perhaps
surrounding
he saw
space
that
was
he was
distorted.
pitiful
and deliberately rewarded
Everything
him
that
with
came
another
into
move.
contact
with the ripples on Wally's
Looks like the
body
matter of
shrunk
him killing
incredibly.
Loki is true.
White
Until
Dragon
now,
Emperor's domain.
White Dragon Emperor Wally had
Wally
still calmed
raised his
down.
head and roared. Although he was
There were
extremely
bright god
sullen in his
gates
heart
that were binding
he could
his
not
body
even
also
restrain his
shrunk.
own subordinates. The most important
In the
thing was
end,
that the force that
Dustless had
suppressed
taken
Wally
advantage
was
of
getting
him.
smaller and smaller. Thinking about it, the
blood
pressure on
on
Wally's
Wally's
body
much
was
less.
boiling.
Boom,
A gush
boom,
of old
boom.
blood rushed to his head
The
and was
mighty and
about to
extraordinary
vomit. Dragon body burst out
seemed
with
to,
unimaginable
the beautiful
power.
monkey,
who had
Wally
always been
finally
flamboyant,
tore apart the
was
suppression
unusually
of the
well
bright
behaved,
god gate,
and turned into
When
a
he saw that
devastating
White
and dazzling
Dragon
fluorescent
Emperor
light that
did not
swept
go
into the
berserk,
sky.
He said,
It's
"There's
impossible
still some
to
time
surpass
before
him
the
with
moon
pure
falls."
After
I should use this time to destroy the evil dustless.
After all, that guy
the meteorite
might stop falling and the world
This sentence
will return
was like
to
a
normal.
thorn that deeply stabbed White Dragon
Compared
Emperor
to the
Wally's
dustless,
self-esteem.
the horror in Calamity
That's right.
Orb
Dustless
was already
kind.
strong to the extent that
White
he could
Dragon
kill
Emperor
gods,
Wally said.
but what was he doing? Dustless's ridicule suddenly
No matter
appeared
how
in his
crazy
mind.
the people from the disaster
He did
group
not know
were,
why,
they wouldn't
but
go
Wally
to the extent
suddenly
of digging
felt that
their
it was
own
too
graves.
appropriate.
However, Dustless, who
In
prided
my
himself
eyes,
on being
you
righteous,
are simply a
did
child
just
who has
that.
not grown up. Today, I will rid the world of evil and kill you, the most evil
Chapter
person in the world.
1377.
Entering the silver
Staring at White
Tyrannosaurus
Dragon
mode,
Emperor Wally,
Wally's
who was
limbs were
pounding his
almost
chest and
identical to a
stamping his
dragon's.
feet in anger.
Monkey
He
felt
stretched
helpless.
out his sharp claws and
Both
shrouded
of them were
Dustless.
members of the Misfortune Squad,
White Dragon
and
Emperor's
happened to be
domain.
Dustless's enemy.
A wave of energy
They deserved to be
and the
beaten
void
up.
within Varley's body
How
that
about
had stopped previously
Monkey
began
seemed to have
distort
thought of
again.
something as his eyes flashed
This special
and suggested,
domain gradually
how about we let
expanded.
the infinite
1
dragon
meter,
god
10
Orpheus
meters,
deal with him.
100 meters.
If it's Orpheus,
1,000
she can
meters.
definitely defeat Dustless.
The energy ripples endlessly spread.
After all,
and
Orpheus
Varley
wanted
had
to
unlimited
completely
power.
distort this dimension.
Maybe, but
Wally turned his head and coldly glanced at Monkey as he
Didn't I
coldly
just slap
rejected,
his face
but
a
that
few
guy is
times,
my enemy.
trick Black Goo over,
This
and
is my
kill
personal
beautiful
matter.
Monkey.
Orpheus
all.
has no right to interfere.
I don't seem to have done anything
As
outrageous.
expected. Hearing this,
Dustless
Monkey
said
could only
helplessly,
smile bitterly,
expressing his innocence.
He was not surprised
Leave
because
it to
this
me.
was the arrogant White Dragon
I'm your
Emperor.
bodyguard now.
No one could control
The
his
infinite
will
dragon
and no one
god
could
Orpheus
interfere
took
with
a
his
step
personal
forward.
matters. Her cute
Speaking
little
of
face
which,
was filled
I
with
haven't
calmness.
seen
Orpheus recently.
She was
Wally
directly
lowered his head
affected
and
by
thought about
Wally's
something as
White
he recalled
Dragon Emperor's
Orpheus'
domain,
recent strange
but
behavior.
her
body was not affected at all.
That guy couldn't have gone to
It
find
was
trouble
enough
with
to
the
prove
great
the
red,
power of the
right?
infinite dragon god Orpheus.
Monkey was bored and smiled.
Even the White Dragon Emperor
I don't know
Rubian
either.
in his prime was no match
White
for the
Dragon
infinite
Emperor
dragon
Wally
god
expressed
Orpheus.
that he did not know either.
Sorry, I
He
never
then
like to let
pondered for a
others
moment
deal
and
with my
said,
enemies.
if
that's the case,
let's
let's go
think
to the
about how to
dimensional
deal with
crevice
him.
and have a look. Dustless's head
I
turned.
also want to see the legendary
His
Great
left
Red.
eye was the reincarnation
When
Sharingan,
talking about the
and
Great
his
Red,
right eye was the
Wally's
legendary
eyes shone with
Tensigan.
ambition.
The two
He
completely
wanted to
different
defeat the
eyes
Great
looked
Red and become
particularly
the
evil.
White Dragon Emperor.
Paw. Although Dustless
After
had
a
an
moment of
accident,
silence,
his dream
Dustless
had never
snapped
changed.
his fingers,
and the corner of his
Inside
mouth
Ria's
curled
villa.
into a wicked smile.
The members of the supernatural
most
research
profound
department
state of
were
torturing
clearly
a
divided
person?
into two groups.
It's not to kill him directly.
Dustless and Touching Hage were
That's
isolated,
not interesting at
while the
all.
other group led by Ria's
The
looked
right choice
unfriendly.
is to make him suffer a fate worse than death. There's no need
Then
to be
first,
so cautious.
taking a deep breath,
The
Dustless
atmosphere
took out
is
an
so
ordinary
gloomy that I
sphere
can't
from
even
his
catch
hand.
my breath. It didn't look
Dustless
powerful,
was the first
but
to
it
break
shot
the
out a
ice.
high-density gravitational force
Ria's
that
and
was
the
enough
others
to
knew
destroy
that
the
Touching
world.
Hage was White Dragon Emperor
Dustless's
Wally's
expression
subordinate,
turned cold,
so it was
and he
understandable
shouted,
for them to be
Chibaku
cautious.
Tensei. Don't you want to
Caw,
explain?
caw.
Why is this
Just
guy
like
in
the
my
prelude
house?
to the Sun Destroyer,
Ria
the moment the
snapped.
words Chibaku Tensei
She cursed Dustless in her
boundless
mind.
gravitational force
This
shot
was her
down from the
house.
black sphere,
It
changing
was
the
one thing
geological
for him to
plates
bring
of
a
the
random
entire
person
world.
without summoning.
The
But
earth
the worst
was torn
thing was
apart,
that this
the
person was a
mountains were
member of her
flattened,
nemesis,
the sea
the
was
disaster
collapsing,
squad,
and the playthings were wailing.
elder sister, Kidney
It was as
fearfully
if the
looked
end
at
of the
the
world
smiling
had
black
really
song of
arrived.
Deshang. The laws
Fear
of all
flashed
things were
across
all
her
ineffective
face,
at this
and her
moment.
fists were clenched tightly.
The huge mountain floated upward.
It was not hard
and
to see
everything
that she was
affected.
very afraid of Black Song.
What's going on?
Cough, cough.
Wally exclaimed.
I'm sorry.
His
this
old
is my
face
oversight.
finally couldn't maintain his calm
Her name
and
is Black
confidence.
Song of Touching, which is also Kidden's sister.
The moment the
From
gravitational
now on,
force
she's
flashed,
one of us.
his White Dragon
Dustless
Emperor's
suddenly
domain
broke the
was also
news.
affected and was easily
All
torn
the girls
apart.
were tongue-tied, their
It was
faces
as simple
full
as
of
tearing a
suspicion.
piece of paper.
Everyone,
Not
please
only
advise
that,
me.
his huge body
Touching
also
Hage
floated upward
elegantly lifted her
uncontrollably,
skirt and
and he
smiled
was about to
gently
be
at
sealed
Ria's
by the
and the other
sphere.
girls.
However, in the eyes of the girls, it felt like a weasel paying a visit to a
Chapter
chicken with ill intentions.
1388.
Even
Gulu
so,
Gulu.
it still couldn't dispel
Staring at the
everyone's
beautiful
doubts.
monkey who was slowly approaching
Even if you're
him,
Ria's
Varley's
fiancé,
old face changed
it's not
color.
appropriate for you to bring a
He
strange
looked at
woman
Dustless
home.
with gloomy eyes and
Especially
growled,
since
as
this
a
guy
powerhouse,
is the White
you
Dragon
should.
Emperor's
Dustless
subordinate.
interrupted
There's a
Varley
need
and
to
asked
check
with
with
a smile.
smile. Are you talking
A
about the
powerful
bearing of a
voice
powerhouse?
suddenly sounded.
How much
The
is that
voice
kind
was
of groundless
infused with
bearing
magic,
worth, bringing with it a
boom,
sense of
boom,
oppression?
boom.
You want to check on
heard
Black
this
Song.
sentence, his mind immediately became a mess.
Eyes flashed with a cold light.
He felt as if he was struck by lightning.
You want to check on the person I brought here.
The impact of these words was even more serious than the series of violent beatings just now.
As a member of the disaster squad,
Dustless's words
it's necessary
that he would use all kinds of perverted means to deal with him. The mysterious person appeared from the corridor.
I can dominate everything in this independent
space.
His dense hair was sticking
so let
up,
him be unique,
and his cold eyes
were domineering like a lion.
Beautiful monkey,
the
glorious
muscles
of
being
castrated
by
your
former
subordinate.
TSK,
that must
Riaz
feel
exclaimed.
Great.
Dustless said with a cheeky
surprise.
Riaz's cousin.
Poochie.
The members of the paranormal
there was a
research
blood stain
department
on the
were all
ground.
stunned.
Varley was so
looked
angry
at this
that
extraordinarily handsome man. He gritted his teeth
His
and stared at
awe-inspiring
Dustless
aura
in
made
shock.
people not dare to breathe
He didn't
too
expect
heavily.
this guy to come up with such a shameless idea.
I don't care whose cousin you
What's
are.
wrong with
and
being
I don't
unique
care which demon family
times.
you are the heir of.
Glancing at the big
I'm not
scissors
interested
in the beautiful
in these,
monkey's hand,
and I don't want
Varley
to know.
cursed in his heart.
You just need to know
This was
that
10 times
you
more
don't have the
serious
right
than
to check
killing
on
him.
her.
Pointing at Black
kill
Song,
me if you have the
Dustless's
guts.
tone was as cold
Varley's
as ice.
eyes bulged out as if
This
they were
is
about to
troublesome.
pop out.
Riaz felt a headache
so
coming
scary.
on. She
Beautiful
knew her cousin
monkey,
and
hurry
Dustless's
up and
personality very well. Dustless pretended
Once
to be
they got
afraid and
serious,
took a few steps
there was
back.
no way they would back down.
He immediately waved his hand
might
and
turn
ordered
into
the
a huge
beautiful
battle
monkey
in the
to
end,
execute
and
Varley
her cousin
immediately.
was the one who was crushed.
The beautiful monkey
Riaz
nodded
couldn't
and
bring
pounced on
herself to
Varley
say
with
it.
the big scissors.
She might hurt
Even if he was
Saroj's
unique
pride.
10,000 times,
You're
he
just
could
as
still
barbaric
grow
and
back after
unreasonable
every
as the
time.
rumors say.
After all,
Saroj
this knew
knew
Dustless's
face.
personality very well.
In Tsukuyumi's space,
He just
the
smiled
life and
knowingly.
death were all under Dustless's
Dustless
control.
stood there like a statue.
Ah,
damn monkey.
He didn't answer.
Stop it. He pulled
The
Black
miserable
Song to
scream
his
reached
side
the
and
sky,
quietly expressed
making
his
people
stance.
feel cold all over.
What he meant was,
Varley's
this person
miserable
is under my
scream
protection.
contained
endless pain. Thank goodness we
That
didn't
hysterical
fight.
wail seemed to be regretting
Seeing
living
this,
in this
Riaz
world.
let out a sigh of relief.
Dustless had already disappeared
The rock
from
on her chest
Tsukuyumi's
also
space.
disappeared.
Caw, caw,
But Dustless
caw.
and Saroj stared
The
at each
void
other.
outside was filled with
There
wails.
was a possibility of a fight
The
breaking
fall of
out
the
at any
moon
time.
had destroyed everyone's
The
fighting
younger
spirit.
generation of demons is
In front
about
of a
to
planet.
start.
What could these small
I hope
fries
the two
do?
of you don't waste time.
Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Riaz's eyes lit up as she
In the
tried
distant
to dissuade
horizon,
them.
several sharp
Waste
sounds of
time.
something breaking through the air
How is
could
that
be
possible?
Looking
This
up,
kind of
a
comedic
few weak
fight
black
is supposed to
spots
end
were
in
rushing
an
over at
instant.
an incredible speed.
Dustless answered easily
Demon
and
King,
confidently.
Leviathan, Seraphil.
He then looked at Saroj
That
and
guy
asked,
seems to
"You
be
think
another
so
demon
too,
king,
don't you?" Hearing this, Dustless's observation hockey swept across the world. Chapter 13.
He was surprised to
find that Sazax had disappeared and he couldn't feel his magic fluctuations. And there was some anger in his heart. He couldn't have really been killed. He was the strongest demon of the younger generation.
Wally's arrogant declaration,
Dustless's contemptuous
had a
tone
bad
didn't put him in his
premonition.
eyes at all. There was no doubt
What he
about
meant
Sazak's
was that if they
strength.
started fighting,
He
could
was
finish
10
him
times
off in an
stronger than the
instant.
old demon king.
Creak. Creak.
Saratog clenched his fist
Dustless
so
really
tightly
did not
that veins
believe that
popped
he would
out
be
on
killed
his
by the
fists.
people the old demon king
His
was
palms
filming.
were sweating, and the
But
crackling
now,
sounds from
his
his
magic
fingers made everyone's
fluctuations had
heart skip a
disappeared.
beat. So
Why
be
are
it.
there so many monsters?
This kind of thing doesn't matter
Hito
anyway.
Issei wanted to cry,
Dustless
but
shrugged,
no tears came
revealing
out.
a helpless expression.
He suddenly realized
At
that
worst,
the confidence
he
he had
could
built
just
up with
use
so much
outer
effort
path,
had crumbled once again.
reincarnation, to resurrect.
Compared to this group of people,
With Dustless's
you are indeed
reincarnation
pitifully
Sharingan's pupil power,
The Red
this
Dragon
wasn't
Emperor
difficult to do.
Drake did not hold back at all.
Shoo shoo shoo.
Compared to Dustless and
At
the
the
others,
same time,
Hito
Demon
Issei
King
was a
Asmodeus
single-celled
and Demon
organism.
King Leviathan both
He was
landed
just
on
a
both
weakling.
sides of Dustless.
Swoosh.
Their expressions were slightly
Swoosh.
embarrassed, especially
A violent
Seraphil's right
explosion
shirt,
sounded,
which was
and
faintly
Saratog's
bursting.
body made crackling sounds
You two
like
ran
lightning.
very fast.
His aura rose
Are
to
you
a
really
level
the
that
current
made
Demon
everyone
King?
feel suffocated.
How disappointing.
This guy is very strong.
An evil and
touching
arrogant
Black
voice
Song
came.
frowned and looked at him cautiously.
At some point in time, she
Several
felt a
figures
sense
were
of danger
standing
from
in front of
Saratog's
Dustless
body,
and the others,
as if he could destroy her at
You
any
are.
time. His pupils shrank.
Swoosh.
Dustless was surprised to
Swoosh.
find that he had some impression of this
Saratog
person.
dove down like lightning.
His expression was arrogant and his
straight
eyes
for
were
Dustless.
overbearing. They started
People who were
fighting
swept
just like
by him
that.
would shrink their necks as
Everyone
if they would
was
lose their
stunned.
lives in the next second.
They did not expect the fight
This guy
to be so
is a bit
simple.
similar to Wally.
This
Dustless
guy
said
is
in
so
surprise.
cunning.
He
actually
estimated that
launched
this
a sneak
person was
attack
related
first.
to Wally Lucifer.
Despicable.
His name is Lezuim
Junai
Levi Lucifer.
and the others were so angry
He
that
is
they
the
stomped
grandfather
their
of
feet.
White Dragon Emperor Wally,
They all
and
felt
also
that
the
it was
old
unfair
enemy of
for
Sazax.
Dustless.
Launching a
Sazax was
sneak
killed by
attack
him
without
just
saying
now.
anything was
Seraphil
too shameless.
explained,
her beautiful eyes dignified.
Saratog's cousin,
at the same
was
time,
unhappy with him.
Several powerhouses appeared beside
Levium Levi.
It might have been a
Lucifer,
flash in
and
the
the
eyes
demon
of
kings
others,
of the old
but
demon
in Dustless's
faction
eyes,
were also
it was
among
as
them.
slow as a turtle crawling.
Let
Is
me
this
test
the
how
general
hard your body
mobilization
is.
of the villains?
Saratog
I have already
shouted.
advised Sazax to
His
kill
fist
you,
that could
but he was
flatten a
moved
mountain
by
was about to
compassion.
land on Dustless's face,
TSK.
but a seemingly weak arm easily
If
caught
he
it.
knew that you are now a traitor,
Stop fooling
he would
around.
not rest in peace.
Brat, Dustless asked
A small
teasingly.
hand that was only a quarter
The
of
person
Saroj
standing on the
size
left of
calmly blocked
Levium
the
Levi
sharp edge of
Lucifer
the
was
fist,
the demon king
and the
of
fist
Chukka
with the
that he had
pressure of
beaten up a
Maltai
while
was
ago.
unable to move forward in
But
the
then
slightest.
again, are you sure that Sazax was really killed? Dustless asked
How is
suspiciously.
this possible?
He felt that it was
Saroj was
ridiculous.
tongue-tied as his internal organs
How could a
violently
supreme
jumped.
demon king be killed so
He
easily?
subconsciously looked at Dustless.
I also heard this from Asmodeus.
This snow-white hand that was
I don't
comparable
know
to
the
a woman's
specific
belonged to
situation
him.
at the time. Dustless looked straight
Seraph
at
shook her
Saroj
head.
without any ripples in his
Although
eyes
she had
as
a
he
bad
explained in a
relationship
soft
with
voice.
Dustless,
They were already at
words.
the end of life and death.
You can play it casually,
Hearing this,
but if you
Dustless
go beyond
looked
this
at the
boundary,
big guy
the
who had
flavor
been
will
silent
change.
since just now. Especially
He
when you
felt
raise
that there
your
was
fist.
something wrong with this guy.
I can kill you at any
With
time.
Sazax's strength, the
His
probability
pitch-black
of him being
eyes were as
killed is
bright as the
zero.
moon.
Even if
His
he was
calm
surrounded
tone
by
was
several
filled with
powerhouses
confidence,
of the
but
same
it
level,
caused Black
he should be able to
eyes
hold on
light
for a
up.
while. He felt
Could
as
it
if he
be
had just
his
woken up
pupil
from a
shrank?
dream. Dustless suddenly thought of a terrifying possibility. I didn't expect this kid to care
It was
about
also
me
at this
so
moment
much
that a hole the size of a
It's
human
not
head
bad
was
to make
made
a baby
in
with
Dustless's
him.
abdomen. De Shanghai pursed her lips. She did not have any prejudice against her partner as long as he was strong enough.
1389.
Dustless was a
Zenka
perfect
no
fit.
Tachi emitted a
It was
terrifying
far
energy
more fitting than
fluctuation.
anyone else he had met before.
Any living creature could
Are
feel
you
the
looking
aura
down
of
on
death.
me?
The
Why
blood
aren't
in
you
their
fighting
body
back?
quickly evaporated,
As
if they
Saroj
would dry
pulled
up
back
at
his
any
fist
time.
with an ugly expression.
Everyone,
including
his old
Levium
face was
Levi
burning
Lucifer,
with pain,
felt uncomfortable.
Dustless's words hurt
You want
even
to kill
more
my
than a
underling.
beating.
Do you
You're
have
right
any
to
respect
understand
for
it
me?
that way.
Levium
The
Levi
gap is
Lucifer
indeed too
sneered and
big.
took the initiative to stand
You
up.
should have tested it out just
At
now.
the same time, he
Dustless
waved his hand
casually
and
gave
ordered
an
all his
excuse.
subordinates to retreat.
The so-called strongest
It
young
seemed that he
demon
wanted
was
to
just
fight
a
Dustless
so-so.
one-on-one.
Whether or not
He had
could
a
even
confident
close the
smile
white
on his
dragon
face.
Emperor Wally was a problem.
No matter what kind of artifact you are just
Hearing
asking
this,
for humiliation
Saroj's
in front
eyes
of me.
flashed with a scarlet color.
Levium Levi Lucifer
raised
said
his
arrogantly.
lowered arm
again as his veins
However,
popped out. Dustless ignored him and
This
kept
time,
staring at
he
Asmodeus.
gathered even more strength and smashed it at
Dustless. His pupils
Stubborn
turned.
brat.
Dustless
Seeing
aimed
that
at the
this,
residue at his
Dustless
feet
gave him
and
a hopeless
activated the
look.
eye power of Rinnegan.
This time,
he was
heavenly
even more
hand
ruthless
power.
as he simply raised a
After
thumb.
saying that,
Dustless
boom,
performed
boom,
a
boom.
shocking scene in front of everyone.
A huge vibration spread
His
out
body
and the
quietly
entire
left.
mansion trembled.
Even the
The
trajectory
force
of
was
his
so
movement
great
could
that
not be
Riaz
captured.
and the others thought that
Where
Dustless's
is he?
thumb would be broken.
Where did he run to?
Who would have thought that the result
That kid
was so
can't
shocking?
be scared, right?
Dustless
Who
only
knows?
used one finger to block Saroj's
But even if
attack.
he ran, it's useless.
That was my full attack.
Soon, we will
And this time
gradually
it was just
occupy
one
the main
finger.
world.
That
Saroj
kid
was
is
shocked
just a
beyond
stray
words.
dog.
There
His
is
lips
no need to
trembled as he
bother with
looked
him.
at Dustless suspiciously.
Let's discuss how to split the
He
profits
suddenly
after we
suspected that
occupy the
Dustless
world in
used
the
some kind of
future.
mysterious tool
These
to weaken
people
his power.
completely ignored Dustless's
That was
existence.
why he did not react at all.
He was just a small character.
What's there to be surprised about?
If he ran away,
Do you
then
even need
so
to think
be it.
about this?
Damn
The
coward.
result is obvious.
He didn't really run away.
You didn't use your
did he?
full strength just now.
Seeing this,
and I didn't use my
Seraph's
full
expression
strength
turned
either.
ugly. So this
Although
result
she was
is
a
not
demon
surprising.
king,
There were several
Dustless
people on the
shrugged
opposite
as he
side
explained
who were
it
at
as
the
it
same
should
level
be.
as her. At the
If
same
Dustless
time,
patted
his
his
eyes
butt
were
and
focused on the
she would
figure in the
only have a
corner.
dead end.
After carefully
Seraph
sensing
expressed
it,
that
he
she had
frowned.
not lived long enough and did
This
not
guy
want to
was
die.
like a poisonous snake in
Phew,
human skin.
he finally left.
On the surface,
The
he was
demon
warm
king
and
who
sunny,
held the position
but on
of
the
Asmodeus
inside,
rejoiced.
he was cold and vicious.
His tense heart also calmed
I seem
down,
to have seen this guy
expressing that he was
before.
under great pressure facing
I remember
Dustless.
his name is Theodora Astaroth.
However, just as he finished
I heard that
speaking,
he is a
Dustless
relative of the
appeared
current
and
demon
slapped his
king.
face.
His background and
what are
origin
you
are very
rejoicing
scary.
about?
A
Dustless
demonic
said to
voice
himself.
suddenly came from behind.
He deliberately raised
Not
his
only
voice
Asmodeus
and focused
sucked in a
everyone's
breath of
eyes
cold
on
air,
Theodora.
everyone else shivered.
Greetings, everyone.
This guy was as silent as
Noticing
a
the
ghost.
gaze,
Theodora
that
also knew that he could not
With
continue
that,
to hide.
Zenka no
So he
Tachi
took the
slashed
initiative
at
to greet them with a warm
its
smile.
sharp edge piercing through his body.
A poisonous poisonous snake in human skin.
Boom, boom.
This is very similar to Sosuke suddenly occurred between heaven and earth. But your strength is 1,000 miles away from the others. Zenka no Tachi spewed out a large amount of high-density flames, and Asmodeus disappeared without a trace in a flash. When the observation hockey was left to the limit, it can also see through the other party's mind. By the explosive flames of remnant fire Tachi. He has already vaguely seen Theodora's when purpose. It was swung. You even want to hit realistic portrayal of remnant fire Tachi, but your courage is not small. How is this possible? A cold light flashed. He instantly killed a demon king player. To Theodora's head. Everyone rubbed their eye on his face, and after confirming that they weren't dizzy from old age, when he was about to ridicule him, someone spoke first. This place is not the lowest level of trash Theodora, but a demon's cousin in name and in reality. Moreover, this, he belonged to the category of transcendence, touched his chin and said, the current demon kings were all stronger than the previous demon people is just a so-so, but Dustless's simple maybe they can help really refresh their seriousness. This doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. It was as if he was cutting cabbage. Theodora's face always maintained a smile. Even if he was cutting cabbage, there would still be movement. People who don't know him will really think that he is a gentleman, but in fact, his heart is black. But when Dustless swung his blade to cut the head of Asmodeus, Theodora secretly glanced at Aisha directly cleared his throat. Go. When he was about to talk to everyone Aisha, retreated one after another, taking the initiative to pull away from Dustless. If there is nothing else, please leave quickly. Really too I still want to fight with that guy. His strength was at the limit of being able to shatter mountains with a flick of his finger. Being disturbed rashly and suffering a loss in the hands of Dustless. Seeing this, Lesavin Levy and Lucifer's old face twitched. I'm going to say no. Although he was also shocked by Dustless's means and was even more afraid of him than Sarzax Jimenez, Lesavin Levy and Lucifer relative of the current demon king, Beelzebub, and the next head of the Astaroth family, as the leader of the Calamity Squad, there is no need to be afraid of Saroj. What could he expect from this group of shrimp soldiers and crab generals? Theodora felt that he could use Saroj to show off his strength. We have more people. Two idiots spit at each other. Beat him up like how we killed Sarzax just sat on the chair lazily and crossed his legs calmly. The helpless Lesavin Levy and Lucifer could only stare at the two of them with a malicious look. His tone was extremely bewitching as he shouted loudly. This is a duel between the second generation of officials. It has nothing to do with him, an outsider. Hearing do you want to be beaten? Dustless smiled as if he was looking at an idiot. Saroj asked gloomily. He pointed at White Dragon Dustless Emperor has Wally, not washed away the shame he gave him, and this idiot his whole body was twitching again, and his painful expression made it seem as if he was neither targeted by ghosts when they went out. Useless trash. Should if you want to fight, then get out of here. Letting you live now don't is simply my biggest mistake and failure. Diodora, Lesavin Levy and Lucifer only felt that his lungs were about to explode from anger. Propose. While he was painstakingly trying to fool everyone, eyes emitted his grandson was wailing over there and the surrounding temperature immediately dropped. And do you really forget it if you have the advantage to Aisha? Dustless revealed attracted everyone's attention. Sharingan, radiating a demonic he was holding remnant flame Tachi, more which was out of the ordinary. Propose. He was not in a hurry to attack. Who do you want to propose nor was he in a hurry to launch his sneak attack. Saroj's murderous aura froze for a moment. He only stabbed remnant flame Tachi. He took a closer look and realized that there was no one else but Rias's family. Instantly, the ground cracked open easily, and a huge hole appeared. Diodora snorted and walked up to Aisha. The sharpness that could cut through iron like mud shocked full of adoration. What is he trying to do? Dear Aisha Algert, to be honest, I've admired Lucifer's expression was so gloomy that it could drip water. When I heard that you were in danger when you first came to the demon realm, would be solved, I was so and the leadership that of the demons would be at his fingertips. I even organized an army of demons to save you. Who would have thought that after he sent Sarzax away, someone explain an even more difficult cold-faced Yama would come and kill one of his generals in the blink of an eye? I think there's something wrong with his brain. What an unlucky year. He's mumbling to a wall for no reason. The corner of Lesavin Levy and Lucifer's mouth twitched. How can this idiot be the heir of the Astaroth family? He must be the last patriarch. Chapter 1390. This idiot is killing me. The group of villains shuddered as they looked at the charred Tachi in Dustless's hand in fear. The unbridled mockery spread. This weapon was too abnormal. Diodora frowned and was about to scold them when she suddenly realized that the person who was proposing to her, Aisha, had turned into a wall. Not even a trace of their existence would be left behind, let alone going on. How did this guy get out of my sealing technique? Where's Miss Aisha? Demon King it shook his face Diodora, who came to his senses, barrier magic formation was inexplicably torn apart. She then recalled everyone's mockery, and her old face twitched. He had only blinked his eyes. Her eyes were bloodshot, and the barrier had shattered. Diodora was so depressed that she almost vomited blood, We're not his match and her breathing sped up.
He alone
Not
can
only was
crush
her
all of
reputation
us.
completely ruined, but she
Chow
had
from the
actually
hero's
proposed to a
faction
wall
is a
with
good
deep
example.
affection.
We're not
as good as him. Her name would definitely
die
be
if
passed
we
down
go
in the
up.
demon world, and
The team
future
of
generations
disasters
would
camp
talk about it
immediately
with
had
relish.
doubts and discussed with each
On
other.
the other hand,
They
Aisha
didn't
was
care about
already
the living
standing
demon
behind
King
Dustless
Achuka
at some
or their
point in
current
time.
boss, Lezuim Levy
You
and Lucifer.
bastard! Being played around
Which was
like a
more
monkey,
important,
their
their
Lyra
lives or their
finally could
boss?
no longer maintain her fake
They
appearance of
decisively
being
chose the
handsome.
former.
Her face was
people were
distorted
only
as she
here to
looked
get
at
some
Dustless
benefits.
and Aisha.
If they could get some
What?
benefits,
You don't want to
everything
continue
would be
acting.
fine.
Dustless
But if their
asked
lives were
teasingly
threatened,
as he chewed on
especially
an
for a
apple.
super freak like Dustless,
He even gave her a thumbs
encountering
up
such
and
a
said,
strong and
"Come
boundless
on,
enemy,
you can propose
it was
to
better
a
to
wall
give up
so
early."
brilliantly.
The best actor
One
title
demon
will be
king.
yours in the future. Who wouldn't be afraid?
It must be you who did it.
Sure
right?
enough, you didn't let me down.
It's definitely you.
Hearing the cowering team
Diadora
of
roared
disasters
like she was at the
underlings,
top of her
Seraphal's
lungs.
tense nerves finally
Not
relaxed.
only did her plan to show off in
This
front of
motley
Aisha
crew was also a force
failed,
to be reckoned
but she
with.
even treated him as if he
But
was
now,
an idiot.
their confidence was
He was an
shattered by
idiot who was
Dustless.
trying to please the crowd.
In fact, it
So
wasn't
what if
just
it's
the
me?
team of disaster that was
So
afraid.
what if it's not me?
Even Seraphal,
Looking at
who was
Diadora's
also a
fierce
demon
gaze
king,
that seemed to want
felt
to
a
eat him
chill in her
alive.
soul.
Dustless asked,
Dustless's
unmoved.
strength was too terrifying.
So what?
To put it
What a
bluntly,
joke.
killing a demon king
You have
was
to
as easy
understand
as
that I'm a
killing a
blood
chicken
relative
or a
of the
dog.
demon king, Beelzebub,
and this is the underworld.
Hearing this, Dustless
What do you
frowned,
think will
and a
happen if you
cold look
offend a
flashed
relative
across
of the
his
demon
face.
king?
Being
Diadora
slapped in the
asked
face
fiercely,
and remaining
a
silent
fierce
was
light
not his
flashing
style.
in her eyes.
Dustless was the
Just
true
as she was
portrayal
about to
of
threaten
Dustless.
A strong
You're
figure
all going to
resolutely
die.
blocked her way.
Landing
Looking
on the
at Diadora's
ground,
fierce gaze
Dustless
without
was too
fear.
lazy to talk nonsense.
Even if there were tens of thousands of enemies,
Chapter 13,
it was
80.
meaningless to him. Dustless's
Anyway,
crimson hair fluttered
he
in the
didn't need
wind,
to do it himself.
exuding a mesmerizing fragrance.
Another ability of Zenkin no
As the
Tachi
hair
could
was
deal
too
with
long, it drooped on
Are
his
you an
cheeks,
idiot?
making the willow
Let them
fragrance even
go.
clearer. We are
He
outnumbered.
could not help but take a few more
Seraph
sniffs.
trotted over and tugged at the corner of Dustless's
could not
clothes,
help but sigh
silently
as he
cursing
stared
him for
blankly
being
at
an
the girl
idiot.
in front of him.
Dustless didn't
This
seem
was the
to
first time
understand
in
this
his life
sentence.
that he was protected by a
They
woman.
outnumber us.
This feeling was
We have fewer
exceptionally
people
deep.
and less power.
But it was undeniable
That was just
that
now,
Dustless was
but
very
it's different
happy.
now.
Get this
Wuchen
straight.
smiled and patted
He's
Seraph's
my
shoulder.
fiancé.
The latter's
Is there a
face
need for
suddenly
him to be
blushed
afraid
like
of
an
you?
apple.
Theodora.
There were two cute crimson balls on
Rias
her
answered
face.
domineeringly.
She cursed in
Her
her
cold
heart.
gaze
This
was
brat
fearless
still
as she
dares
stared
to
at
tease
Theodora.
me. At the same time,
Her aura was
Seraph
even
also
stronger than
widened her
his.
eyes and curiously watched Dustless's performance. Seeing this,
Crack.
Theodora's face twisted even
Dustless
more,
stabbed
almost
Zenkin no
turning
Tachi
into a
into the
fried dough
ground,
twist,
and the ground began to tremble
Theodora
as if it was
glared
water.
fiercely at Rias. She could ignore everyone's feelings,
If the number of
but
people
Rias
can
was an
determine
exception.
victory or defeat,
Her
then
brother
we will
was also
definitely
one
win
of the
this
4
time.
demon lords, and his
Dustless
strength was
smiled with
unfathomable.
incomparable confidence.
There were rumors that
Dense
Zazak's
ripples
strength
appeared
was
on the
10
ground,
times that of
as
the
if
previous
something was
demon
about to
lord.
break out from the ground.
Just thinking
causing
about it
everyone
made
to feel
Theodora's
uneasy.
heart skip a beat. Those who have been killed by
Bastard,
me.
do you only dare to hide
Now,
behind a woman?
wake up. Come out if
Broken
you have the
bones
guts.
emerged from the ground.
Theodora
Dustless
pointed
finally
at Dustless
shouted
and roared in
Zenkin
anger.
no Tachi.
South,
She rubbed her
fire
teeth as
10
if she was
trillion
about to
death
grind them
burial
to
formation.
pieces.
Me.
Wool.
The
Come
moment
out.
his voice fell,
If I
the
don't come
undead
out,
army of
are you
hundreds
going to
of
bite
millions
me?
of skeletons rose from the
Dustless
ground,
shrugged and said
and their deafening
provocatively,
roars
"Of
resounded
course,
through the sky.
if you have the ability,
They all
you can jump
raised
over
their
and
weapons
hit me."
and charged toward the disaster squad.
Hearing this,
Theodora
this
went
possible?
berserk on the spot. That guy can
She
control
was
the
so
undead
angry
army,
that her whole body creaked.
and such an exaggerated
This
number.
was the most tragic thing
Oh,
in the
right.
world.
I have something to do
The
at
enemy
home,
was right in
so
front
I'll
of
leave
you,
in advance.
but you did not have the ability
My
to touch
wife
him.
is his relative,
When
so
it
I'm
came to
retreating
backing,
too. Rias was much stronger
Damn
than
that guy.
Theodora.
Is that guy the Grim
I'm
Reaper?
not going to argue with you, but even Hades doesn't have this
Theodora
ability.
comforted herself with a fake smile.
Why are you still talking nonsense?
As the descendant of the demon
Do you
lord,
want to be
there
beaten
was
to
no
death?
need to argue with a nobody.
Hurry up and run.
Her gaze finally
Hundreds
fell on
of millions of
Aisha.
skeletons chased
Miss
after the invaders
Aisha,
of the disaster
Diadora
squad.
took out an incomparably bright
There were
rose
some
from
super
somewhere
strong
and said with a
undead in the
sincere
army,
expression,
such as the
"From the
captains
day I
that
met
were killed
you,
in the Grim
I
Reaper
knew
world.
that in this life." At this
Aizen,
point,
Yawach,
Theodora did not know
Jugram,
why,
Oquiora,
but she could not
and the
help but
captains that were
stop.
killed by Dustless,
She
including
subconsciously
the former
looked at
knights of the
Dustless
Astral
and saw him
Cross,
looking at her
all
with a
turned
smirk.
into an army of skeletons
Her
to
heart
chase after
suddenly
the
skipped skipped a beat, and she knew that things were not going well.
I've killed enough people in the past.
Then Theodora realized that her hands were empty,
with a myriad
and the
of
roses in her
emotions.
palms were all gone.
Most of the skeletons in the
Oh
army
my.
were strong.
You
so
can't be the
considerate.
legendary god of Hades who
I dare
controls
say
death,
that you will buy
right?
roses for me if I need them.
Seraphil smiled bitterly,
Thank you so
suddenly
much.
feeling
Your
that
Excellency
Excellency was
Theodora.
too mysterious.
Wu-Chen played with the crimson rose came one after another, and he could smell the faint with his casual appearance. It was very likely that he did not use his full strength. I haven't been able to give you anything good. Hearing this, I just sent Theodora to buy you 2 blooming roses. The Hades of this world if you like to be a skeleton, please accept them. Have you seen a handsome handed Hades the roses like to Isha gracefully that and smiled gently. That old guy is just a skeleton. Really? You really can't be praised. Aisha's eyes widened instantly. She did not expect Dustless to be so narcissistic. Of course, it was undeniable that Dustless had the capital to be narcissistic. After all, his strength was there for all to see. You two are the last enemies. His line of sight fell on Demon King Ichuka and Lesavim Levi Lucifer's head. Almost everyone else had collapsed. Only these two held a deep hatred for Dustless and continued to be in a stalemate. As for White Dragon Emperor Wally, he was already unconscious. He was unicated by his subordinates 10,000 times in the Tsukuyumi world. He was probably traumatized for the rest of his life. Chapter 1391. The Demon King Ichuka trembled all over and grimaced in pain. In order to carry out the plan perfectly, he deliberately suppressed his strength last time and lost, causing him to lose face. This time, he unleashed all his strength to turn the tables, but who would have thought that he would be even weaker than before? Ichuka said that he couldn't even capture Dustless's movements. When he realized that Dustless had appeared, his heart had been crushed. How can you be so fast? Where did you come from? I've checked your background, and there's no god called Dustless in the Eastern and Western mythological systems. At this point, the Demon King Ichuka also recognized the gap between them. It was just his wishful thinking to avenge his humiliation, and it was impossible to realize. I'm just an ordinary mortal. Retracting his arm, Dustless took the initiative to distance himself from the Demon King Ichuka. He was also an ordinary human who had reached where he was today. There was no one who could reach the sky in one step and stand at the top of the pyramid looking down on all living things. However, even if I can't kill you, I must leave my mark on your body. The Demon King Ichuka said with a determined expression. At least he had to let Dustless know that he had fought with an enemy called Ichuka Astaroth and was injured. You have a lot of unrealistic ideas. Wu-Chen had a headache. Sometimes it was really difficult to deal with this kind of lunatic who did things without thinking about the consequences. Even if they were forced into a desperate situation on the verge of death, they would still have the idea of perishing together with the enemy in the end. You want to self-destruct? Looking at Ichuka calmly, Dustless said softly, you have a lot of magic power in your body gathered in your abdomen. I'm afraid you want to detonate your entire body and drag me down with you. What a crazy man. That's right. Hearing this, the Demon King Ichuka admitted. Since he was already close to death, he might as well use the remaining time to create the most dazzling sparks. His body grew bigger and bigger, like a hydrogen balloon gradually occupying the entire sky. Not to mention attacking, he would explode if someone touched him slightly. Unfortunately, there's no chance. Dustless said softly, and at the same time, his eyes began to change. No chance. Get this straight. As long as you touch my body, even if it's just touching me with your hair, there might be an explosion that can destroy the world. Demon King Ichuka said proudly. This was also one of his trump cards, a move that would take his enemy down with him. Farewell. Dustless didn't say anything. His eye power increased without limit, tearing apart the space beside Demon King Ichuka. Divine might. Could it be that he wants to? Demon King Ichuka's pupils constricted as he stared at the space within Shinwei. His entire body glowed. The chances of him taking revenge on Dustless after being thrown into that space were 0. I need to self-destruct as soon as possible. I already said it's too late. The godly might released a distorted gravitational force, and Demon King Ichuka was instantly sucked in.
It was too late for him to self-destruct, as the wound that was torn by the godly might had already healed. Bastard! In the cold, dark universe, Demon King Ichuka screamed at the top of his lungs. He was frantically looking for a way out, but there was nothing he could do. As far as the universe was concerned, there was no way out. The only thing that awaited Demon King Ichuka was death. You're the last enemy, right? He turned into a photon and floated to Seraph's side. He saw that Lezuim Levi Lucifer was fighting with Wally. He even chose to forget about Dustless and Seraph. After killing him, I'll have to leave this world. Dustless stretched his body and counted the only gains in this world. It seemed that there was only the Great Red, the Psychic Beast, and an additional bodyguard, the infinite dragon god, Orpheus. Boom! 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 The two figures clashed fiercely and fought fervently. They had really forgotten about Dustless and Seraph. I say, if the two of you fight like this, I don't know how many days it will take to determine the winner. Instead of wasting time like this, I have a good idea. Lezuim Levi Lucifer and Wally Lucifer both had extraordinary magic power. They could fight for 5 to 6 days without any problem. However, Dustless didn't have that much time to play with them. What idea do you have? Wally and Lezuim Levi Lucifer asked at the same time. It's very simple. Dustless smiled casually. He secretly had a huge energy fluctuation in his body, preparing a powerful move that could kill with one blow. I mean, don't waste your energy. You two should die together. After that, Dustless appeared beside the two of them at lightning speed, and his shining fist slammed into them. Armament hockey hardening. Lezuim Levi Lucifer was a veteran of many battles. Although Dustless was very fast, he didn't grow up without doing anything. Only White Dragon Emperor Wally was sent flying by Dustless. Poochie. The powerful fist was extraordinary. Wally, who was attacked, his chest instantly caved in, and his whole body was almost penetrated. Chapter 1392. Lezuim Levi Lucifer's eyes almost popped out. He stared at Dustless's fist with dread. It was covered with a shiny edge like steel. He secretly pondered, is this the fist of the giant clan? Go to hell, Wally. A lot of emerald light floated around his body. Dustless said coldly, Tensigan chakra mode. His whole body was suddenly wrapped in emerald mysterious chakra. Dustless's temperament was also different in an instant. His cold and emotionless eyes were like looking at insects. White Dragon Emperor's domain. Wally, who didn't give up, grabbed with his hand. The surrounding void was like the water surface, radiating waves of ripples, and was compressed again. Anyone who touched this power fluctuation was reduced to half of their original size, even the lifeless stones were no exception. Struggling before death, can't you just obediently go to heaven? Dustless shook his head gently and glanced at White Dragon Emperor Wally with pity. Then he clasped his hands, and a burst of chakra attack whistled out. Silver Will Reincarnation Explosion. A long tornado swept out, and the ground was easily penetrated. The violent wind speed even affected the change of the airflow. The weather was fine, but it inexplicably rained. Poochie. 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 The tornado swallowed Wally in the blink of an eye. He found that his armor was as fragile as paper. It would be torn apart when it touched the wind and waves. The heavy armor on his body was eroded in the blink of an eye. Poochie. The armor was all destroyed, and the one who was ravaged was Wally himself. After a while, a lot of blood seeped into the tornado, and Wally had been ravaged until only a white skeleton stained with blood and minced meat was left. Gulp. Even with Lezuim Levi Lucifer's experience, his eyes flashed with deep fear. This miserable way of dying was too cruel and vicious. Strike first and gain the upper hand. Lezawim Levi Lucifer's magic burst out. In between his movements, the magic light beams all over the sky went forward together with monstrous momentum, asking for humiliation. Seeing this, Dustless was not afraid at all. He immediately took a more exaggerated move than Lezawim Levi Lucifer. This time, I must beat you until nothing is left, Dustless said coldly. He was already tired of this eyesore, so naturally, he wouldn't show mercy. The majestic natural chakra in his body was released in an instant. Dustless's eyes and eyebrows. A huge outline appeared behind him. Immortal art, Mokutan, true thousand hands. The giant's arms was the sky. Wu Chen, who was standing on top of his head, dragged the giant Buddha statue forward. Every time he moved, there would be a loud rumbling sound coming from the ground. Gulp. In all fairness, Lezawim Levi was really scared out of his wits by this behemoth. That unparalleled figure made even God his impression of the Great Red extremely small. Taking a step back, even if the monster had no attack power and was just an empty shell, it still had an unprecedented attack power. If the Buddha statue fell, it would probably be able to easily destroy a city, not to mention the thousands of fists. How insignificant. Dustless glanced at the incoming light and did not hide his contempt. He shouted, Buddha transformation on top. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hundreds of punches flew out from the Buddha statue behind him. Their power and strength were unparalleled, and they easily dispersed the incoming magic beams. Bang bang bang. The shadow of the fist covered the sky, and wherever it went, magic beams would collapse and end. The void was like fireworks, with sparks flying in all directions. It was extremely beautiful. Let's retreat. Otherwise, I will die too. This guy is too scary. It's doubtful whether the Great Red will be able to take care of him. Lezawim Levi Lucifer said fearfully. It was not that he was afraid of death, but this kind of meaningless death, dying like cannon fodder, was hard for him to accept. Dying was not a problem, but he had to drag the enemy down with him. At least his death would be more valuable. He couldn't be killed by Dustless for no reason like now. That would be too tragic. Chapter 1393. You want to run? Do you think I don't exist? Dustless sneered again and again. He had been observing the changes in Lezawim Levi and Lucifer's expression. That expression of fear and wanting to escape, he saw it clearly. Go to hell. Sweeping away the remaining magic light in the sky, the giant Buddha statue turned around and charged towards Lezawim Levi's Lucifer. Kakaka. The ground under his feet shook violently. Lezawim Levi's Lucifer couldn't even stand still. His expression was extremely gloomy. Do you really want to kill me? Lezawim Levi's Lucifer asked in a hoarse voice. His fists were clenched so tight that his veins were popping out. Every strong person had their last trump card, but it could only be used in a desperate situation. Every trump card that was used was one less trump card. That was why most of the strong people didn't want to fight to the death. After all, not everyone was like Dustless, who had all kinds of overpowered abilities and powerful moves. Is there any use in saying this now? A few hundred meters in the sky, Dustless stepped on the Buddha statue. His tone was calm and his eyes were emotionless. Anyone could see the faint murderous intent in his eyes. Damn brat. Hearing Dustless's answer, Lezawim Levi's Lucifer roared. His body turned into a purple light and fled. He knew that resisting Dustless would lead to an early death, but he still wanted to die. That was an idiotic behavior. You still want to run at this point? Dustless shook his head. He was about to leave, so he couldn't let go of this big trouble. Suddenly, a few emerald balls floated behind him. They were similar to the truth-seeking jade. All of them gathered in Dustless's palm. In the end, as if they were melted, they were all compressed into Dustless's right hand. A faint golden light could be seen floating. Idiot, you still want to kill me from so far away. Ha 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 ha, incurable idiot. Lesavim Levi's Lucifer laughed crazily. His words were filled with endless joy. His ability to escape was used to the extreme. Almost in the blink of an eye, he pulled a distance of tens of kilometers away from Dustless. Run as fast as you can. It's a good opportunity to test the effects of this spell on an enemy from such a long distance. Dustless stood still, and the light gathered in his hand was ready to be released. From his calm expression, it was not difficult to see that he was deliberately letting Lesavim Levi and Lucifer escape, hoping to use him to experiment on a certain spell. If Lesavim Lucifer knew about this, he would probably vomit blood again. The distance is far enough. It's about time to begin. Dustless raised his hand and stared at Lesavim Levi Lucifer, who was gradually disappearing from his eye sockets. He was determined to attack. Golden Will Reincarnation Explosion. The lightsaber extended endlessly. Just like Dustless's chakra, his lightsaber also had no end. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. "1 meter, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, 10,000 meters, 100,000 meters, 1,000,000 meters. The golden lightsaber was invincible. Everything it touched was sharpened by the absolute power. Its momentum was extremely fierce. In the blink of an eye, it was close to Lesavim Levi and Lucifer, who was frantically running away. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air from behind made Lesavim Levi and Lucifer terrified. He subconsciously turned his head, and the incomparably thick golden lightsaber filled his entire pupil. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sharp edge seemed to want to cut him in half. How is this possible? What kind of move is this? Does he want to cut the whole world apart? Lesavim Levi and Lucifer's face was ugly. He had escaped so far, but who would have thought that Dustless would catch up in the blink of an eye? He was regretting his decision. How was this a battle? It was clearly a crushing of strength. I can't die here. I can still make a comeback. Lesavim Levi and Lucifer roared crazily. He gathered high-density magic under his feet and stepped on the void. He covered a distance of more than 1,000 meters. Still want to run? Slightly raising his eyebrows, Dustless scolded him for being ignorant and ridiculous. Chakra rose rapidly like a rocket. In an instant, the golden lightsaber that stretched for millions of meters became faster. In a few breaths, it was already close to Dustless, Lesavim Levi and Lucifer. Poochie! The golden lightsaber swept across his body. There were obvious traces of blood on his abdomen. It hurts. Lesavim Levi and Lucifer gritted his teeth in pain. He subconsciously looked at his body. No, it was not his body anymore. His lower body had been cut off by Dustless. Now, only his upper body was left. TSK. You can still not die like this. The vitality of a demon is really strong. He was still alive even after being cut in half. Even if it was just for a short while, it was enough to prove how strong and terrifying the vitality of a demon was. The only way to kill him instantly was to cut off his head. It's not that the life of a demon is strong. It's just that my strength is stronger than theirs. If it were other demons, even if they were demon kings, they would have been crushed by you in an instant. Staring at Dustless, who was rushing over in the form of a rainbow, Lesavim Levi and Lucifer was calm. Perhaps it was because he was about to die, he was terrifyingly calm. You don't seem to be afraid in the slightest. Your calmness and composure are truly impressive. 7 to 8 meters away from Lesavim Levi and Lucifer, photons flashed and instantly compressed into Dustless's body. A pair of bright eyes looked at him and gave him a look of admiration. Of course, because I still have to drag you down with me, so of course I'm very open-minded. Chapter 1394. It was said that Lezavim Levi Lucifer was unrepentant. Even if he was cut in half and only had half of his body left, he was still so arrogant. Especially with his confident tone, he was almost 100% sure that he could kill Dustless. Just based on your current state. Dustless had a headache. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen someone so arrogant. He was already cut in half and only had half of his body left. Even in such a state, he still wanted to drag Dustless down with him. That's right. Staring at Dustless fearlessly, Lezavim Levi Lucifer made the final decision and said with hatred, "If you were willing to let me live, I wouldn't have fought with you. But you actually dared to cut me in half and make me lose face." Lezavim Levi Lucifer's eyes were blood red. Dustless's cruel actions made him lose all his prestige. As the leader of the Calamity Squad, how could he convince the others in the future? Cut you in half? Do you think this is the end? The best part is yet to come. Dustless sneered. He had killed countless people and tried all kinds of killing methods. Today, he might as well try them all on Lezavim Levi Lucifer's body. Although he only had half of his body left. Dustless slowly raised his right hand and pointed his thumb at Lezavim Levi Lucifer's right arm. Dense bright light gathered at the tip of his thumb. Laser shot. The straight light shot out and pierced towards Lezavim Levi Lucifer. He actually didn't run, perhaps he had seen through life and death. Lezavim Levi Lucifer stood still. His body was only faintly emitting a purple light and unbelievably slowly combusted. Poochie. Lezavim Levi Lucifer's face was as pale as snow. Smoke was coming out of his left shoulder. It seemed that it had been pierced through. Through the thumb-sized hole, one could see the sky on the other side. This guy, Dustless frowned tightly. Saying that Lezavim Levi Lucifer had seen through life and death, Dustless would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. How could an ambitious person give up life so easily? Especially Lezavim Levi Lucifer, who was determined to perish together with Dustless. It was impossible for him to die. He seems to be combusting his body. No, he seems to be burning his soul. Dustless stared at Levi Lucifer and felt that something was wrong. Ha! Are you scared? Ha, this is what you get for angering me. Lezavim Levi Lucifer laughed wildly and said, "Originally, this was used to deal with the Great Red, but you are at least on the same level as the Great Red, so the main character can only be changed to you. This is a super monster sealed in the Bible, at the cost of my soul." As if he could see the miserable state of Dustless's death, Lezavim Levi Lucifer's face twisted with laughter. Used to deal with the Great Red? Hearing this, Dustless instinctively thought of Samuel the Dragon Devourer, but he shook his head decisively. After all, he wasn't a dragon. Samuel the Dragon Devourer was only effective against the dragon race. He was the natural enemy of dragons, but to suppress Dustless was no different from a fool's dream. Could it be? With a flash of shrewdness in his eyes, Dustless suddenly remembered what Lezavim Levi Lucifer said just now. There was only one monster sealed in the Bible so far, Beast King 666. In the original work, Lezavim Levi Lucifer did use his soul to awaken the Beast King 666, but he was killed by Hyoto Issei in the end. No wonder you are so confident. With such a trump card, you can't be careless at all. Dustless patted his head and showed an expression of fear. But no matter how he tried to hide it, the anticipation that was exposed made Lezavim Levi Lucifer so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. That was the legendary Beast King 666, not some random person. At least, he should show an expression of fear. What's with this cheeky smile? Not serious at all. Buzz buzz buzz. At the same time, a large-scale magic circle appeared in the void. The range was as large as a few hundred meters. It was the first time Dustless saw such an exaggerated magic circle that covered the sky. Woo woo woo! A deafening roar came from the surface of the magic circle. The majestic roar was awe-inspiring, as if it was the ruler of the sky. Their ears were numb and they felt dizzy. The terrifying aura swept across the world. Anyone who felt the waves could not help but lower their head. They were inexplicably terrified. What the hell is that? Seraphil, who rushed over, was stunned. Her little face was pale, and her body involuntarily hid behind Dustless. Even if the super creature in the magic circle had not appeared yet, Seraphil was sure that this was an enemy beyond her knowledge. It seems to be called Beast King 666. It seems to be on the same level as the Great Red. Dustless lazily hugged his head with both hands and said without changing his expression. Beast King 666. On the same level as the Great Red? Seraphil staggered and almost fell. She looked at Dustless with a conflicted expression. If that was the case, the two of them should run away now and unite with other mythological systems and powerhouses of other forces, instead of looking at Dustless's expectant expression. What are you worried about? My bodyguard is enough to deal with him. Dustless waved his hand and patted Seraphil's shoulder. Bodyguard? Seraphil was stunned when she heard that. She subconsciously looked around. A black shadow just happened to pounce at her. It was so fast that Seraphil only felt a black wind blow past. Chapter 1395. Seraphil was depressed. Since when were there so many unknown powerhouses in the world? Demon King level players seemed to have been reduced to street trash. Dustless being a freak was one thing, but she also threw out Lesavim as a freak. Beast King 666 was also speechless. After all, he was on the same level as the Great Red, the real Red Dragon God Emperor known as DXD. But who was this guy that suddenly appeared? And he was so strong that she couldn't even catch his speed. She's a girl. Seraphil paused and looked at the end of the black wind trail. The girl with black hair dancing in the wind was slim and graceful. Her expression was emotionless, and her clean and white cheeks were like gems. What was most surprising was that the girl was not afraid of Beast King 666's aura. This is the leader of disaster, the infinite dragon god Orpheus. After being stunned for a few seconds, Seraphil revealed the girl's identity and then asked with a trembling voice, She's your bodyguard? I must have heard wrong. You don't believe me. Dustless curled his lips and said disapprovingly, to be honest, the Great Red, she's also my summon beast. With a proud expression, Dustless looked at Seraphil in high spirits. His appearance was like a villain, and it gave people the feeling that he deserved a beating. Infinite dragon god Orpheus. Lesavim also exclaimed. His face turned green as he questioned, as the leader of Disaster Orb, how dare you betray us so blatantly? How dare you? Damn bastard, I don't understand. What's so special about this man? Could he be the illegitimate son of the god of creation? Lesavim's face was gloomy as if he had eaten 10 tons of flies. It was as ugly as it could be. It seemed that all the good things in the world happened to Dustless. Damn it! Lesavim roared at the sky, full of desolation. He sacrificed his soul to awaken Beast King 666 and hoped that he could kill Dustless, this annoying cockroach. Infinite dragon god Orpheus' betrayal shattered his hopes. Although Beast Emperor 666 was powerful, it was impossible for him to suppress the infinite dragon god Orpheus. If the two of them were to fight, Beast Emperor 666 would only be on par with Orpheus. Thinking about how he had sacrificed his soul for nothing, Lezivim's face twitched, and he was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Ao. The Beast Emperor 666 completely emerged from the huge magic formation. Its huge body was even taller than the Great Red. It was several hundred meters tall, and it was only a little shorter than Dustless' complete body Susanoo. An ugly monster with several heads was instantly exposed. Its invincible aura swept across the entire underworld. Woo woo woo. Beast Emperor 666 roared once again. Although he didn't intentionally target anyone, the shockwaves from his roar still turned into a world-destroying shockwave that spread in all directions. Even if the moon hasn't fallen, the underworld is probably done for after this battle. Seraphil could not help but smile bitterly and lower her head in silence. In front of this group of people, her status as the Demon King had plummeted, and she had no right to speak. Other than Lezivim, who was about to die from self-immolation, everyone else was stronger than her. This guy, Dustless carefully stared at Beast Emperor 666. After a while, he waved his hand and said with a face full of disgust, "This ugly guy is Beast Emperor 666. What a bummer. One look and I can tell that he's a big idiot. He doesn't deserve to be my summoned beast. Orpheus, hurry up and kill him. If I summon him out to fight, I will definitely be isolated and treated as an alien." You, Orpheus, who was naturally adorable, twitched her mouth. Her expressionless face had a touch of helplessness. She was also deeply troubled by Dustless's Chinibu personality. Ao. Somehow, Beast Emperor 666 seemed to understand Dustless's mockery. One of his heads roared a few times, then he bared his teeth at Dustless. Then, he opened his mouth and a huge flame fell down. "Idiot, taking the initiative to provoke me, you will only die faster." Giving a hopeless look, Dustless also launched an incomparably powerful attack to give a biting cold counterattack. "You just came out, and you don't even have time to take a few breaths before you die. It's really hard for you. Even a cold person like me can't help but sympathize with you." The Rinnegan Sharingan was exposed in the air, staring at the falling fireball. Wuchen responded softly. Tomb of Samsara Border Prison. The sky was quiet, but the falling fireball instantly exploded without any warning. Everyone was dumbfounded, including the heads of Beast Emperor 666's main body. They were all dumbfounded. Others didn't understand what happened, but Dustless, who saw through Rinnegan Sharingan, witnessed everything with his own eyes. The flame attack was scattered and destroyed by his shadow. In the invisible world, Dustless's shadow used complete Kansusanoo to confront Beast Emperor 666. He had an ignorant expression on his face, and he didn't know who did it. Full of flaws, a good opportunity. Orpheus's cute little face caught Beast Emperor 666's flaw. She raised her harmless fist and punched at Beast Emperor 666's many heads. Boom boom boom. A large ripple appeared in the void, and it spread at a speed beyond the naked eye. It gave the feeling that the sky of the whole world was trembling because of Orpheus's punch. At the same time, Dustless increased the output of his eye power. His shadow controlled complete Kansusanoo, and under the double attack, Beast Emperor 666 was instantly unlucky. Especially Dustless's shadow, he couldn't deal with it at all. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.